I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll start with the national anthem by Joe Longfellow. Thank you.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command, car ton bras se porte l'épée, il se porte la croix, ton histoire est une épopée de plus brillant exploit. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Joel. Well done, as always.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. My pleasure, as always.
Continuing with the agenda, introduction of any item items, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. None this evening.
I need a mover and a seconder for confirmation of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Main, seconded by Councillor Desmarais. All in favor? And that would be carried. Thank you. Any disclosures of interest, Council? Seeing no disclosures of interest, I need a mover and a seconder for the regular meeting of Committee of the Whole held on May 24th. Mover, Councillor Elliott, seconded Councillor Bodner. All in favor? Any opposed? That would be carried. Thank you. Determination of items requiring separate discussion. Councillor Elliott. Councillor Elliott.
I was waiting to give everybody else a chance.
Don't tell me you have a list, Councillor. No, only teasing.
Just a short one. 5, 6, and 15.
5, 6, 15?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Desmarais.
I was going to speak to item 5 as well.
Very good, thank you. A mover and a seconder for items not requiring separate discussion. Councillor Danch, seconded by Councillor Bodner. All in favor? And that would be carried. Thank you. Now I'm going to move to the podium where we're going to recognize the technological skills competition winners from Lakeshore Catholic High. Thank you, Councillor. I'll get you to hang all of them, except the first one, which I'll read, and then the rest you can just hang them out. Wow, what an amazing group of young people, again, being recognized this evening. Port Colborne, since I've been on acting mayor, I think we've recognized the provincial champions of basketball, girls hockey in Port Colborne, who was undefeated all year. What else do we? There was another group of young people. Amazing. And tonight is that much more. Young people in the city of Port Colborne. And so I want to recognize some of our top students. And we will be recognizing students' achievements in technological skills competition. Each of you are an inspiration to your fellow students to work hard to achieve similar goals. Our community schools are training our students in trades that will help them keep them in our city, maybe out of our city, to show how wonderful the product that comes from Port Colborne, with viable employment opportunities with our local businesses. I'd first like to invite up to the podium Principal Glenn Gifford from Lakeshore to say a few words.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Kenny and members of council, it is nice to see you again. My name is Glenn Gifford and I am the proud principal of Lakeshore Catholic High School. And as you are aware, Lakeshore Catholic High School has been providing excellence in Catholic education for nearly 30 years here in Port Colborne. Recently, we completed a $5.5 million renovation to Lakeshore Catholic High School, and I'm happy and confident in saying that Lakeshore Catholic is a modern, state-of-the-art facility that offers choices for students that are not available anywhere else in Port Colborne. We're the only school in Niagara with a fly gallery in their auditorium, and this was evidenced in the Port Colborne Operatic Society production of Mary Poppins this year. We are here to serve this community. With over 1,000 students, Lakeshore Catholic High School has been a leader in all the communities that it serves. Recently, our construction classes, many of those being honored here tonight, took part in our Habitat for Humanity home, the renovation that was just recently completed on Bell Street here in Port Colborne. The project on Bell Street is a perfect example where our students gained real-life experience in our community, and I am pleased to inform Council that Lakeshore Catholic High School will continue this partnership with Habitat for Humanity moving forward. The experience gained by our students, while in turn providing a beautiful home for members of this community, was priceless. Again, Lakeshore Catholic High School was the only school involved in this project. Schools may talk about community, but it is only when you serve your community that you feel fulfilled. We at Lakeshore Catholic are serving our community. And recently, we also hosted our second annual Lakeshore Catholic Concert Series. Over 500 people came to see Lakeshore Catholic graduate Tony Decker from his band, the Great Lakes Swimmers, perform on May 13th. We decided to make this a complete community grassroots event. We had local restaurants, wineries, and breweries cater the event to make a truly Port Colborne, Fort Erie, and Wainfleet exclusive event, and it was a huge success. Success was also a major component of our Specialist High Skills Major program with Niagara Catholic District School Board. At our board event, Lakeshore Catholic students received 9 gold medals, 5 silver, and 3 bronze. One of our gold medalists, Justin Schultz, went on to compete at the Provincial Championship in Carpentry. And I am proud to say that Justin, who is here today, won provincial gold and just recently came back from Moncton, New Brunswick, where he competed at Nationals. While at Nationals, Justin won the bronze medal and is one of the finest young carpenters in the country. He may already have some business cards printed, so if you need some work done or completed, please see Justin at the break. Justin was also the lead worker on our Habitat for Humanity project. He is not only a gifted carpenter, he is a servant leader. I'm happy to say that Lakeshore Catholic has been a leader in the area of mental health. Our new addition has a wellness center to ensure that students in distress can get immediate help. We also have one of our students, Miss Brandy Vidacek, who recently wrote a book chronicling her struggles with mental illness and depression. We decided to have the book printed, and we held a book launch earlier this month at the school. Very well attended, and Brandy has had several radio segments and newspaper articles chronicling her adventures. I am pleased to inform you that Lakeshore Catholic High School was supportive of Brandy and was instrumental in making her book become a reality. She also credits the school with their anti-bullying policies for helping her struggles end. We adopt a philosophy at Lakeshore Catholic High School to educate the entire person, mind, body, and spirit. Brandy's book will help others, and for this reason, it is priceless. However, you can get a copy by calling the school for $15, and all proceeds will go to the Kids Help Phone. So thank you for that. I am happy also to announce that our girls rugby team were once again the zone and SASA champions. Having 2 teams, I thought I would do council a favor this evening and not bring in all 70 girls to be recognized for their achievements as we've done in the past. This is the girls' 3rd consecutive trip to OFSA. We truly run a world-class program in girls rugby. Athletic teams have excelled all year at Lakeshore Catholic High School, and as you know, Lakeshore Catholic holds the distinction of being the only school in Niagara that has won 3 Golden Horseshoe football championships. Whether on the ice or on the field or on the court, Lakeshore Catholic is a leader in this community, a school that gives students choice, a student that serves communities in which it draws from. I am most proud of the accomplishments of our students. I do have some homework for all of you tonight, being a former educator. Just a little bit of homework, and I'm sure you can realize that I could be up here for hours if I spoke about all the incredible things that happen at Lakeshore Catholic High School. And I would ask you to travel to lakeshorecatholic.ca and have a look at our website and the vibrant social media platforms that we are engaged in. We are reaching kids through a variety of mediums, and it is helping with our culture of respect that we are building in our school. I do have a brief video today. We can show it. It's approximately 5 minutes if you would like to see it. And it's something that we show at our annual open house, and it probably gives us a snapshot of everything that we do at Lakeshore Catholic High School. It is a true community school that leads by actions. Please look at this brief video for a snapshot of what we do. We also have on our Vimeo account a month-end video that we show every month that incorporates everything that we do at the school from each month, and I'm usually the target of something that happens at the school, whether I'm getting blown up by an app or something happens at the school, and I'm usually on the receiving end of that. Choice is clear for students in this area. Students from Port Colborne, Waynfleet, Dunnville, Lowbanks, Shirkston, Dane City, Ridgeway, Crystal Beach, Stevensville, Black Creek, and Fort Erie. Lakeshore Catholic High School is here to serve. Thank you for your time. Thank you to our award winners who have done a spectacular job of representing this community, and enjoy the video. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Say the names, right? Yeah. So, do you have Justin Schultz as the person called on? Do you have Justin Schultz there? Maybe he's the first one.
She got. I got Sam Pascucci.
He's not here. Not here. Schultz. Santa Cruz is not here. Colin is not here.
We'll read them all.
I want to go to your certificate.
To find it.
No. There's nothing under there. Spitteri's here. No? Maybe this is it. Those people, none of them are here, but we'll read out their names. All done? Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that. Principal Gifford already spoke about this young man, so I'd like to call him up to the podium. Justin Schultz, please. The Niagara Catholic District School Board Skills Competition and the Ontario Technological Skills Competition, receiving gold medals in carpentry in the individual division and advancing to the Skills Candle National Competition in Moncton, New Brunswick, and received a bronze medal. On behalf of the members of City Council and all the citizens of the City of Port Colborne, I want to congratulate you and commend you for all your hard work and dedication in achieving this milestone. Best wishes in your future. Congratulations. Good? Everybody good? Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks. This is the fourth time in many years that students from Port Colborne have won medals in the national competition. Justin, you have made your school, your peers, your family, and your community very proud of you. And Lakeshore Catholic had a sweep this year in the welding division, all 3 medals in local competition for the 3rd year in a row. We have some amazing and upcoming welders. Some people are not here, but we're going to call out their name anyway, and we'll give the certificates to principal. Sam Pacuzzi, he won a silver medal. Sam last year won a bronze medal, so he moved up the scale to silver, and hoping that we'll get a gold from him next year. Also, Colin Plum, he's not here this evening, but he won a gold medal. Sean Cook won a bronze medal. And I believe Eric, is Eric here? No, Eric's not here. On his skills, precision machining division, he advanced directly to the provincial competition for the 2nd year in a row, where he placed 14th. Matthew McCarney, Dante Magazzini, together they won a silver medal in team carpentry division. But I now would like to call up, that's for the guys, right? Now I want to call up the women, and John and I would like to present these certificates.
I just called it in.
Fran, Stella. I think so. And I know she's here because I see her dad.
There's just too many of them.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, here we go. Stella Foyer for the baking division. And she won a gold medal, so any stuff that she makes, she better be wanting to eat, so. Stella, congratulations.
Thank you.
Spiteri. And this one goes to Fran Spiteri. She won a silver medal in the anesthetics, right? How do you say that? Anesthetics? Yeah. Hey, get your nails done by Fran. Here you go. Thank you, Fran. Congratulations. you had to say this name. And for another silver medal in the baking division, Jane, I hope I'm not going to crucify your last name. I know ya. Hey, not bad. Silver medal in the baking division. Great, thank you.
I want to know what they make.
What did you do?
Meringue pie.
Lemon meringue pie, my fave, okay?
All right.
Yeah, samples, yeah. And then John's just going to read off all the names. These individuals won in their area, and they all went on to the Ontario Skills Competition. They are not here to accept their certificate today, but we're very, very proud of them. This is really a team of students who work cooperatively, and they together win medals, make us proud in Port Colborne.
There you go.
So I'll get John to read off all the names of the other individuals who received medals. If you could just maybe mention the medal they received.
Yes, I will.
Thanks.
Matthew McCarney, a silver medal in carpentry. Bear with me here. Nicholas Botero, bronze medal in plumbing division. Cody DePerdo, receiving a gold medal in home building. That's a great.
Frank? Okay.
Dennis Shushinsky, I hope I said that right, receiving a gold medal in home building. Frank was just looking there.
Yeah, I know.
Colin Hamayer, gold medal in home building. Camden McNeil, I'm sorry, receiving a gold medal in home building. Got lots of home building. This is great.
Gold medals, Frank. Cool.
Gold medal. Colin Bloom, receiving a gold medal in welding. Sam Pascuzzi, silver medal in welding. Sean Cook, receiving a bronze medal in welding. Eric Rougegrok, I hope I said that right, probably not. He won his precision machining division with snow medal. It doesn't matter, he won the division. So that's good. Dante Magazzini, silver medal in carpentry. Nathan Schneider, gold medal in electrical installation. John Ferrazzo, a bronze medal in electrical installation. And last, I hope we didn't miss anybody, Colton Lettingham, a gold medal in automotive service challenge division. Thank you so much.
Well, that's just a few of our amazing students, but I really want to take a moment to thank the administrative and teaching staff for guiding and nurturing these students. They are our leaders for tomorrow. To all the families who have come out tonight, and all the families who support these students and their excellent skills, and for anyone else in the community, you've heard their names. They are part of our future, and congratulations to all of you. Thank you. Council, we have three delegations this evening. The first one is Betty Conk. She is the president of the Downtown Business Improvement Area regarding encroachment application fees be waived in the downtown BIA, and that is page 11 of your package, councillors.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor Kenny, council, staff, and guests. It's my pleasure, for the record, Betty Conk, 831 Highway 3 East. It's my pleasure to be returning before council yet again to represent the downtown BIA in my capacity as the chair, and to thank you for the opportunity to speak to the encroachment application fee issue. At our recent board meeting, some of our members approached us to ask if there was some way to have the fee that's attached to the encroachment application waived or reduced. It was expressed by all in attendance that the fee itself is a deterrent to doing business, as we already pay higher hydro gas and rates and in business in comparison to residential rates, and those who own their buildings also pay a higher property tax rate in comparison again with residential rates, which in turn of course gets passed on to those who rent. The cost of doing business anywhere, as we all know, is escalating, and so it seems the amount of red tape, which is perceived also as being a deterrent to doing business, not just here in Port Colborne but everywhere. We do agree, however, that the encroachment bylaw is a necessary one. However, it came as a surprise to a lot of us when we were asked by the city to forward the information with regards to the sign policy and the encroachment bylaw. It was a surprise to a lot of us, and it was a shock that there was a fee, a fairly large, hefty fee attached to it. So when you take into account that fee, and for those on West Street, they have to increase their insurance from $2 million to $5 million, which is an added cost. When you add those two fees together, you could be looking at disaster for some of the businesses, a financial disaster. I know it sounds like not a lot of money, but for those who are struggling to keep their business doors open, it could be the difference between closing those doors and staying open. So after much discussion about the fee issue itself, there's a whole bunch of other things attached to the encroachment bylaw. However, the fee itself, the board passed a motion to come forward to council to ask respectfully that the fee itself be waived permanently, and that the annual renewal fee be reduced from $50 to $25 a year. So normally the fee is $150 for businesses in the CIP area, and it's $300 a year on application for those outside of the CIP area. Doing this will encourage those businesses that want to put merchandise out on the street, clothes racks, stuff from inside the store, to entice customers into their stores to go forward with that process, coming into compliance with the bylaw itself, and keeping the streets safe for not just the residents of Port Colborne but visitors as well. So we respectfully ask that you consider reducing the annual fee to $25 and waiving the application fee altogether.
Thank you, Betty. Any questions of the presenter? Yeah, of the presenter. Do you have a question? Councillor Elliott?
No, I'll wait.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else have any questions? To staff, that would be our acting CAO. Okay. Councillor, your question to?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I do have a question for our CAO.
Yeah.
So through you to our CAO. Dan, could you explain exactly what purpose the fees serve, both the initial fee for the encroachment papers and the application rather, and then also for the renewal fee? If we could find out what purpose that they do serve, what costs they do cover, and what costs will the city be left with if we were to reduce or eliminate any of these fees?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Desmarais, the fee of $300 was agreed to by Council in 2007. That was the fee that Council approved, as well as the renewal fee of $50. What that encroachment agreement does, it protects the municipality from liability. That's essentially what it does. Our insurance underwriters, and they're concerned about anything that is a liability towards the city, whether it's a trip hazard or any other works that take place on municipal property. It's really to protect the municipality That fee goes to staff time to prepare a report to council, to also prepare an encroachment agreement, the bylaw, and at times having to consult with the St. Lawrence Seaway Management Corporation, especially if it deals with lands on West Street, it's under their ownership. So it's the consultation, the preparation, and bringing forward the report to council what those fees cover. I mentioned the fact that it's really a protection for the municipality for liability purposes. If there was to be a trip or fall, the municipality as a whole is on the hook if we don't have any sort of coverage protecting the municipality. So that's essentially what the encroachment agreement does.
Do you have any further questions, Councilor?
I do, thank you. Okay, I understand that's what the encroachment agreement does, and I'm sure the fee does cover a lot of staff time, but would the $300 be more than what is needed for staff time? That's what I'm wondering. Can we safely reduce it without cost to the city? That's what I'm asking.
Through you, Deputy Mayor to Councillor Desmarais. Back in 2007, the report was brought forward by Corporate Services, and I know there was input from municipal bylaw enforcement staff as to what the cost is for the municipality to prepare the report. We reduce the fee for the CIP area to $150 like we do for building permits and other matters when it comes for development in the downtown. If council is going to have any appetite for any sort of fee reduction, I would request that it be brought to staff to have a further review as to how the fee actually was determined, to have that before council for consideration, if that's what council's interest might be.
Yeah, yes, I do. Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Dan and to Harry as well. I know at the marina, when a person buys a slip or rents a slip to put their boat in, they physically have to come in and show their insurance package, whatever it may be, to a certain standard of insurance, because the liability would be if the boat caught on fire and burnt somebody else's boat and the docks. And I don't know, and without asking Harry, I guess I should ask Harry, what is the fee? There's no fee for showing your insurance. Is that all incorporated in the price of the dock?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Kenny, to Councillor Main, it is incorporated in the fee of the dock, as well as the fact that you have to have that insurance before you can, proof of insurance, before you can have a slip assigned. So it is incorporated in the fee in some form. It's not broken down in any way, but it's the ownership. The onus is on the owner to provide insurance so that they can have access to the docks. Otherwise, they can't.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Dan. So, Harry, having said that, this fee of $25 or $50 or whatever it is would basically be to pay for the issue of a person coming to apply for their encroachment, showing their insurance, paying the fee, and going out the door. I can't see it costing $300 in order to do that if the policy was set up properly. Any comments, Dan, please?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Main, the difference between the marina and the encroachment agreement is one that is agreed to by council. Okay. That is the difference. Under the marina's policy, the proof of the insurance, that is all they require. It doesn't need to come back to council for formal approval and bylaw. Everything that council approves is by bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Aquilina. Councillor Butters, you had a question, and then Councillor Elliott.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Through you to Dan. Dan, is there like a, could you call it like a template? So say I'm coming to apply for an encroachment and to get this agreement. Is there kind of like a template that staff uses? And I don't want to use like a fill in the blanks kind of a thing, but is it more complicated than that, or is it more like that?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Butters, it is somewhat similar. However, each encroachment is on its own merit. Whether it's a patio, we have to actually draw a map to locate the actual dimensions of the patio, how far it is on municipal property or on St. Lawrence Seaway property, Transport Canada lands. So each application is different. Some agreements may require the creation of a reference plan. That's the extreme. Like I'm dealing right now with an encroachment agreement for an industry. They want to put riprap on our property. Well, they need to have the reference plan created to actually delineate that material on our property. So each encroachment is different. There's not a standard.
Okay. Thank you. So say somebody, like there would be a big difference if somebody wants to put flags on the side of the building which are up high and not in anybody's way. There'd be a big difference between that kind of encroachment and the patio scenario, right? Because it would be less in the way and all that kind of stuff. So what I'm wondering is, would it be possible to, if there has, I mean, I think there probably has to be some kind of fee of some kind to cover off staff time, but could it be simplified in a way that the simpler encroachments would be less money for the business owner? Like, is that a possibility?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, that is a possibility, but again, each one is on its own merit. What makes one thing dangerous than something else? The $5 million liability, that there is because that's what the St. Lawrence Seaway requires. Okay. That is their requirement. However, other encroachments may require the $5 million. We review it. Is it going to be more of a danger for more severe injury? That's what a lot of it dictates what the cost of liability is, but certainly we can look at the different encroachments and see what the impacts are. But one encroachment might be different, but they may be the same. It all depends on what the situation is.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking like clothing racks in front of a store as opposed to flags on a building as opposed to a couple of tables and a couple of chairs. Do you know what I mean? I'm not talking about riprap and the whole, like a bigger, obviously makes sense that you would need a reference plan and all that kind of stuff. But when we're talking like downtown, the kind of the usual business owner type things are a relatively simple, you know, clothing racks, that type of thing. Maybe tables and chairs, maybe they want to put up flags. I would think that would be on the simpler side rather than the more complicated side. Thank you.
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Butters, when we're dealing with the St. Lawrence Seaway, those are the more complicated ones in the sense that they require greater security or through the liability insurance. So if we're talking about something that's only a potential trip hazard per se, we then only require the $2 million liability, but still we need to have a lot of the information on a map that accompanies the report. So it might be something that we can look at if Council's direction is to review the whole encroachment agreement policy and bylaw.
I don't know if I'm going to let you speak, Peter, but yes, you may. What do you have to tell us, Mr. Sonnen? Something we don't know?
Thank you,
Okay.
Deputy
All
Mayor.
right,
Just to add, just on the insurance part of things, go along with what Mr. Aquilina is saying, it all comes down to risk management, and it all comes down to in a lot of circumstances, depending on what it is, there may have to be the possibility that we have to go to our insurer also, because periodically our insurer does come forward and look at different areas within our municipality that may have risk involved, and I know that we have discussed with our insurer different types of hazards along the sidewalks and the areas where pedestrians are walking, and depending on what they are, risk could be, as you said, could be greater in some instances than others. And we have to ensure that, make sure, and that's why in a lot of cases, that's why probably St. Lawrence Seaway, they leave it at a blanket of $5 million because insurance liability and insurance claims have increased over the years, and therefore they've put on a blanket of $5 million, where we range anywhere between $2 million and $5 million depending on the risk. But at the same time, we're not, as staff, we're not in the business of understanding and knowing what that risk may be, and should it be $5 million, should it be $2 million. So that blanket risk tends to come into play, and it's always going to be on the higher side, so that it does protect the corporation.
Thank you. Councilor?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I wasn't going to comment on Betty's presentation right now, and I would ask Council to not make any motions or deferrals or anything until after the second presentation with Mr. Cheshire from the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce, who's here to make a presentation on the same thing, because I know that he's got some facts and figures that he would like to present too, so that we can hear them. But just going back to the coverage that Peter talked about and Dan has alluded to as well, do we have a standard policy that we require everybody to carry $2 million, to name the corporation as added insured at $2 million, basically across the board? And if we don't, and if we jump to the $5 million, what are the instances that we have people carry $5 million?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Elliott. Our norm has been $2 million, although our insurer has been saying that they're starting to more lean towards the $5 million in a lot of instances. But right now, we look at higher, if there's a higher risk involved, for example, anything to do with alcohol is an automatic $5 million. Anything around waterways, Nickel Beach, the marina, is $5 million because of the risk of water. But for the most part, yeah, it seems to be around the $2 million mark at this point in time. And this was something that was determined a number of years ago, where we were going between the $2 and the $5 million, and $5 million being those higher risk. And if staff feels that there is a potential higher risk, then we will then send it off to our insurer and have them determine whether or not it should be the $2 or the $5 million, so that we know that we're protected.
Okay. As of this meeting, for anybody that has a patio that serves alcohol and has an encroachment, they're all at the $5 million level.
Correct.
Okay. And so basically for everything else, it's $2 million.
Correct.
Correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll just throw it over to Harry, or you can answer it as well too, Peter. For vendors that come for Canal Days, we ask them to carry $2 million, right? So kind of that $2 million is the basic kind of cap that we're looking at.
Unless
Okay.
if I may, unless it involves other agencies also, because then they put on into the equation what their limit would be, and then you have to go to the higher limit.
Okay. And I've got to pick up on what the other councillors have said too. Basically, the encroachment agreement, from what I understand, is basically looks at from a permanent structure or build. And we're talking about objects that are for sale in most of the retail outlets. Set them out on the street to invite people in. People touch, feel, want to go inside and see what's inside. I talked to Councillor Bodnar earlier tonight too about this issue, and as Dan just said, these rates were passed in 2007. And I believe I would like to take, for sure, another look at this and at the whole bylaw itself, to see if we cannot put something in place that is more business friendly, that is easier for small businesses to do small things to encourage people to shop at their stores without removing the liability that we're putting ourselves under, or risk that we're putting ourselves under, and still getting the people, businesses, to put on their insurance policy the corporation as added insured. And you can have a rider on your insurance that, should your insurance lapse, the City of Port Colborne will be notified that the policy has become void, and we know that that business no longer has their insurance, so we can go and visit them. Cost, absolutely. Councillor Desmarais, $300 to put a couple of things on your sidewalk, to me, is counter to what we're trying to do for businesses in town. So I'm not sure how we proceed with what Betty's asking for with another presentation to come. I would not like to make a decision on this until we hear the other presentation, because there are numbers that we really should hear from other municipalities on what they do. So I believe that's going to be part of the presentation, some cold hard facts. So if we could kind of reserve Betty's presentation and listen to the next one as well in conjunction, and then make a determination on what we want to do after. I know we've got to make a decision. Is that okay? I know we've got to make a decision one way or the other what we want to do, obviously, because bylaw has brought this forward, has received complaints. So there is some action that has to be taken, but I would rather it be later than now, if that's okay, and then we can talk about it afterwards.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, it was well said, Councillor Elliott. You and I both attended that meeting of the BIA to hear their concerns, and I certainly feel it's worthy of looking at again. That's 9 years ago when we passed that, or Council of the Day passed that, and I think it's time we looked at it. But I do, if I could, through you, just a question to you, Mr. Aquilina. There was a question in regards to the hanging of flags, which are above the sidewalk and in no way encroach or impede anyone walking on the sidewalk. They're up against the building, attached somehow to the building, not overhanging. And I just wondered why an individual business was told for them to hang those flags, it was going to be $300, when there's no encroachment at all on the sidewalk in which they walk. If you could, I could answer that.
Sure.
Thanks.
Deputy Mayor, anything that overhangs on municipal property is an encroachment. Whether it's up in the sky, 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, it's an encroachment. It's on municipal property. The insurers always have concerns that if that falls, that is where the liability is.
Okay.
And if it was in the downtown, at the time, it may have been pre-CIP, it would have been $300. That was the fee that council put in place in 2007. The direction from council was that everything that was in the downtown CIP gets reduced in half.
Okay.
And the annual renewal is exactly what Councilor Elliott was mentioning, is to ensure that the insurance is up to snuff. To have that proof, that's where the renewal is, and that's what that fee covers.
Thank you. Okay, Council, we're just gonna park the request from Betty Kong for this time, and we're gonna ask our next speaker to come up, who was at the meeting as well, and first time I met him. So Hugo Cheshire is the Policy and Government Relations Manager for the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for coming, Hugo.
Thank you. Good evening, Deputy Mayor, councillors, staff and members of the public. My name is Hugo Cheshire and I'm the Policy and Government Relations Manager at the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber represents just under 1,600 members with more than 50,000 employees. It is the largest business organisation in Niagara and the third largest chamber in Ontario. The Chamber Accreditation Council of Canada has recognised the Greater Niagara Chamber with its highest level of distinction, and we are active members of the Ontario and Canadian Chambers of Commerce. I have the privilege of addressing you tonight in support of the delegation made by the Downtown Business Improvement Area. It is a sad fact that the cost of doing business in Ontario is growing. The Ontario government has recently introduced cap-and-trade legislation, for example, which will mean additional costs to businesses. They're also set to begin deployment of the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan, or ORPP, in about 6 months. The mandatory contributions therein are effectively the same as a payroll tax for businesses. Electricity costs for small businesses, which have been rising for years, are projected to grow by another 25% between 2015 and 2020. And a recent study by the Ontario Chamber of Commerce revealed that 1 in 20 businesses in Ontario expect that this will put them out of business. Councillors, you can do very little about these examples. But there are more costs to businesses being incurred closer to home, which you can have an impact on. In 2015, Port Colborne had the joint highest property tax rate in Niagara for neighbourhood shops at $3.88 per square foot. The municipality tax rate is almost 20% higher than the Niagara average. On top of this, our members have now brought to our attention the fact that the city is also imposing large fees on businesses wishing to erect signs on small displays of goods on public sidewalks. While some other municipalities in Niagara do charge permit fees for sidewalk encroachment, I wasn't able to find any as high as Port Colborne's. St. Catharines charges $117. Thorold charges $100 for a ground or portable sign with a $50 annual renewal. Lincoln charges $75 for an application. Niagara-on-the-Lake only requests $30 a year for a sandwich board, for example. The Niagara region allows temporary signs of a reasonable size without a permit at all on regional streets and roads. And Pelham, which, by the way, is tied with Port Colborne for the highest shop property taxes, allows sandwich boards on public property without a permit, subject only to reasonable restrictions and a demonstration that you have $2 million of liability coverage. In the meeting that we had, the city solicitor told us that the average claim on insurance was $60,000. and they were only able to think of one claim in the last 5 years on this. I also just been given a copy of the application form here, which is 2 sides, rather simple, and a map with the copy of the insurance attached to it. The current situation is a disincentive to do business in Port Colborne. Considering the level of property taxes and other fees, we urge Council to bring its fees and requirements into line with the other municipalities in Niagara. We feel that the proposal to waive the encroachment application fee, to charge a $25 annual permit fee, and to require $2 million in liability coverage is entirely reasonable. On behalf of the business community, we ask that you grant this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugo. Any questions? Councillor?
Yes. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through to Mr. Cheshire. The figures that you quoted were all for sandwich board signs.
They're for signs, portable. Usually there's a defined area, such as less than 1.3 square meters per side or something like that. They vary slightly, but they're mostly for signage, yes.
Okay. In your research, was there any fees for displaying wares or goods of any kind on municipal sidewalks outside of stores, or did all of these fees just apply to signs?
I believe these fees come from signs because they're from sign bylaws. If there are separate sidewalk encroachment bylaws, then they didn't seem to be published. I wasn't able to find them.
Okay, and I'd have to agree with you because I tried to research some and I couldn't find any for an encroachment agreement that dealt with wares or goods on municipal sidewalks, and then I had a hard time trying to find that, so I agree with you. And thank you for coming again. I know it was a short presentation at the BIA, so I appreciate you. I appreciate your reappearance in Port Colborne. So like I said, I wanted your presentation to come forward because I wanted everybody else to hear the numbers that other municipalities had, and I'll wait for comments from everybody else as well.
Councillor Butters, did you have a comment?
Yes, please. Thank you. So neither of you could find anything in the other municipalities in terms of like a clothing rack on a, because that would be considered an encroachment here, right?
Yes.
Or wrong?
Yes. That's correct, Councillor.
So in terms of us reviewing ours, when we did it in, did you say 07?
Correct.
Mr. Aquilina? Did we review what other municipalities charged for? Because I don't want to do like, I want to do an apples to apples, not like, you know, pineapples and bananas. I want it to be the same comparison. Did we do a comparison of rates back then?
Mr. Aquilina?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Butters, I can't comment on that. I wasn't an author of the report, nor was I a reviewer of the report. I know it came through community services, corporate services, so I...
Well, it certainly seemed prudent to do one now. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you once again for coming, and it was interesting. I'm glad you brought that up about our insurance agent who came to give us advice on that, and they said they had one claim for a trip hazard for something on West Street in the 5 years. That's all. They went back 5 years, and I said that was quite enough, 5 years to show us in 5 years one claim, over 100 on broken sidewalk or thing, but only one on either a pole or something that was up on West Street, some kind of rack that they tripped on. So thank you very much. The individual, though, that had the flower boxes, because our insurer also could not find a standardized height that was required by the province for a flower box. So because they couldn't find it, the owner of that flower box that had put it on city property, and because it was defaced, because it was on city property, removed it. And she will not be putting one back in hopes that that will end the debate on that. But that was all brought up while you were there as well, and I just wanted to make council aware of that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So now, council, back to what was brought up by Betty Conk. Are we wanting to proceed with that, or are we asking Mr. Aquilina to come back with that report? And in the meantime, anyone that has an encroachment, I would ask that they not be charged until we come up with a fee. They can fill out their application, but no application fee until we get this straightened out. Mr. Aquilino, when could we see that report back in front of us? Because this is the time they make their money, is in the summer. This is when they need to make their money because the winters are very lean for them. And so I don't want them to wait the whole summer to have to permission to, for $25 or for $50, whatever we decide, to go ahead with an encroachment agreement with the city. So that would be up to council. I would need a mover and a seconder. How do you want to proceed with that? Councillor Desmarais.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I would very much like staff to come back with a full report looking at fees that are charged in other municipalities, looking at the annual fees, the renewal fees as well, and looking at the actual bylaw for any potential changes. So, and as soon as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott and Councillor Biden.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm in agreement because I really want to do a review of this. The only issue that's going to rear its ugly head is that really crappy L word in liability for right now, because we know that people are putting stuff out on their sidewalk, and in the insurer's email to us, when you know that there's an issue and it's open, you have to deal with it. And I don't want to take anybody's, I don't want the businesses not to do it, but in the same vein, we have to get them to have insurance, because if they keep putting their things out, we have liability. And I know everybody hates that, but because it's open and we already know about it, we got to protect ourselves. And that's no offense to the BIA, because I think we talked about that. And I think it was acknowledged at the BIA meeting that yes, insurance is a no-brainer. They don't mind the insurance policy. The one-time fee was exorbitant. The annual fee, obviously they want reduced, which I agree with. So if everybody's in agreement on the insurance side, we have to deal with that before we can deal with anything else, because we really have to cover the corporation. So before we can pass, not pass, defer, ask for a report, somehow we have to deal with that aspect of it. And then absolutely I want a report.
Okay.
So I don't know how we split that, do that.
Councillor Early, I wasn't suggesting they did not bring in their insurance for $5 million liability. They must bring in their $5 million liability insurance and the application to the city. That's the two things they must bring in. Would that not protect us if they brought in that liability insurance for $5 million to us and the application fee, but the amount, whether it turns out to be 25 or whether it turns out to be 50 for the application fee, that's what I'm not sure. Peter, would they have to bring out, would they have to bring in money to insure the encroachment, and then if there's a rebate, there's a rebate? I don't know, because for me, just 1 second, because Councillor Bodmer's next. I just wanted to ask.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the insurance, certificate of insurance would definitely have to be brought in, naming the city, and if it's on West Street, if it's on Seaway property, would have to name them also as an additional insured, and it would have to obviously be valid with regard to the amount of insurance, and as long as we have it in our possession and their insurer is signing off on it and providing us with that certificate, then we would be covered.
Thank you.
And if the application is in process, as long as we know that we're on their insurance policy, then we're covered as additional insured.
Thank you. Councillor Bodmer, I believe you were next with the question or comment.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Through you to Dan. Dan, when you do your report, I'd like to see a justification for that dollar figure. I can remember other fees that were put on for different things that the city has to do, and and it can't be a money-making thing. We have to justify it, and it should just cover our expenses. And if it turns out that the fee is $300 and it justifies us, or the $150 in the BIA, then what the merchants are asking is their customers to pick up the difference. You know, it's not a magic pot. It just goes back to the taxes then. So, you know, one way or the other, that's council's decision, but we need to know what that cost is to process those. And I think a number of people have mentioned maybe there should be a 2-tier system, you know, like physical stuff like a patio or something is different from a clothing rack, I think anyways, and I think other people have said that. So can you look at that, Dan, to say, is it less cost to do a simple, you know, clothing rack than an actual map out area? And maybe it's the same. I don't know that, but if you could include that in your report you're going to come back with, I think it'd be helpful for us to make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Butters, did you have another question?
Yes, just in referring to what Councillor Elliott was talking about, is that proof of insurance thing. To me, like, there's two things here. There's like, we are asking for the review, and I think we should vote on that as a matter of procedural type stuff, and then bring up the insurance issue to see if that can cover us off until the review is ready, that will protect the liability of the city for clothing racks outside somebody's store. Then we should vote on that separately, I think. But I think we need to be sure that we are covered.
I believe we just heard from Mr. Sinez.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just to Councillor Butters on that, just as another thought, the fact is that no matter what is on city property, whenever anybody does any business on city property, whether it's a contractor, whether it's a business, then it definitely requires the city to be named as additional insured. The fact that in the email that we did receive from our insurer, the fact that if there is a risk on city property, it doesn't necessarily take the corporation off the hook either. Depending on what circumstance may be, the business insurer possibly, or whoever gets puts a claim in, they may not even uphold the insurance claim, which means if it doesn't, then it's going to always come back and rest with the city of Port Colborne, with the corporation. And I think that's why the insurer was saying that the best is that you don't have anything on city property, then that eliminates the risk, and you don't have that altogether. But you know, whether or not it mitigates a little bit of the risk, it's possible, but it may not mitigate all the risk. And you know, a trip is a trip, whether it's on a box, whether or not it's on a piece of furniture that's out on the sidewalk, and a risk is a risk, and the insurers will look at it that way.
Thank you, Mr. Sinez. But I think that's all they have to bring in now, right? Is the insurance must name the city. It must be worth $5 million.
And name the St. Lawrence Seaway.
And this St. Lawrence Seaway is one. I think it says that on their application. So long as that $5 million insurance is taken out until we review, that's okay. They'll be all right until we review the fees, because that's going to be a separate issue, as Councillor Butters said.
For you, Deputy Mayor, that would help.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Elliott, did you?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I'll put forth a motion that we continue. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
You should be first for that for engines.
Okay.
Okay, yes. Okay. You said that, though, Andy, did you not? Okay.
No, I asked that we
That's the first
send
one.
it back to staff, and to do the complete review, and to also, as Councillor Bodnar said, to justify the fees, to take a look at what those fees are serving, so that we can, make a decision on what the correct fee is. But the other part of what I was going to say was that everything until then until that comes back to council, should remain status quo. If you're coming, fill out your encroachment application, bring your check in, have the proper insurance, leave it all the way it should. If we change it, then we can make check refunds. That would be fine. But why change anything? Keep it the way it is right now until we make the decision to change it.
Thank you, Councillor. I just wanted to clarify that, just sorry, one more time. Do they have to bring their fee in, or are we going to wait until we review it?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I would consider that they bring in their check.
Okay.
It can be held as a deposit.
Perfect. That's good. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So that's the motion on the floor. I need a seconder. Seconder. Seconder is Councillor Elliott. All in favor? All in favor? Opposed? No, it's over.
No, I don't want to. I just want to add one thing. The motion. Absolutely agree with it. And I was going to ask the same thing. That's the only thing I was going to ask for. What about the cash part of it? But can I put forward this to the BIA and get out there and Betty, you know what we've been through, because this has been an absolute nightmare. I've had accusations thrown at me undeserved, because I went out and actually talked to the people that had things on their sidewalk and tried to tell them, I'm not here to tell you you can't, I'm here to tell you this is how you have to go about it, and got an earful from more than a couple of people. So I know what I'm talking about. Tell everybody that if you want to have something, this is from council, if you want to have something on your sidewalk, you need to go fill out the application with the insurance, bring your check, and there is no cost to have the sandwich boards out, as long as they're of the certain size, and I think it was 1.3 square meters or something to that effect. As long as there's 1.53 meters. No, because Sherry, bylaw enforcement had already said that there's no fee for a small sandwich board, as long as there's 1.53 meters of clearance. So make sure everybody's understanding what they're getting. The signs are okay, but if you want to put anything else on your sidewalk, you have to come in for the encroachment agreement, bring your check, and we're going to review everything after that, so everybody knows what we're talking about, because there was rumor and innuendo and stories and wrong information and almost information, and let's all sing from the same page, because we're working towards making business less cumbersome to deal with the city, because we really need to promote all of our businesses in town and to help everybody stay in business. So if we can get a concerted effort in getting the right information to everybody, it would really, really help. That's my soapbox for tonight.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. The second, yes. We want to hear from the clerk now,
Thank you,
Council.
Deputy Mayor. Just for purposes of clarity on the motion, we've been talking about Council has been discussing the BIA. However, as Council is aware, the encroachment policy pertains to the entire city. So I just want to be clear that the comprehensive review is a comprehensive review for the entire policy, not just the BIA area.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And now the next motion on the floor is to have this comprehensive review for the fee. So is that all part of it? That's okay? Perfect. And when will we get that report to vote on it?
As soon as possible. Is that okay?
Don't be like Chuck Miller, imminent.
No, we will get that. There would be a lot of work doing the review what the other municipalities charge. I know there's some vacation time right now, but I anticipate having that a couple council meetings from now, the comprehensive review. I don't want to do it.
First council meeting in July. Thank you.
Around
First
that.
council meeting in July. Thanks. Well, he can't do it next, and that's.
No, I know. I know there's holidays. Maybe.
I know, but they want to start their.
No, they're getting it.
Yeah,
They're gonna get it.
okay.
Right?
So,
They're gonna get it.
to the second meeting in July then? They're being nice to you?
You should be able to.
Okay. So just so everyone's clear on when you're going to know how much your fee is, they're going to hold your check as the treasurer said. So you're going to write out a check. It won't be cash. They're going to hold it. And that would be, let me look, the second week in July. It will be the second meeting in July, which will be no. Yeah, 25th. 25th. Okay, now ready, 25th of July. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. The next delegation in front of us is Don Small concerning having bonfires in Port Colborne and the city's newly written open burning bylaw. That's page 15. Sir, to the podium, please. Just push the red button and welcome.
Thank you. I'm here on behalf of both my wife and I, my wife being Dawn. We were having a small campfire in our backyard approximately 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it was a small contained fire. There are some pictures in here along with some letters from our neighbors. There's 2 copies there. From my understanding, there was a complaint received to the fire department. The fire department responded, and they asked us to put the fire out, which we did. And then we were given a written citation, and we were told that if we get a second written citation, there would be a fine attached. But the fire that we had was compliant with the bylaw rules. So I'm not sure how, with the way the bylaw is written, there's no discretion for the fire crew that responds. So when they come to our house, if they deem there to be no fault of us of what we're doing, there's no discretion for them in the bylaw to not give a citation.
We just so happen to have the fire chief right here sitting, and he's going to answer those lovely questions. Chief?
Deputy Mayor, Council, and the individual speaking, all I can tell you is that Council passed a bylaw in September of last year, and there's no discretion with regards to whether or not a fire can be allowed to continue to burn. If our people get a complaint, we respond to the complaint, and the homeowner is asked to put the fire out, failing which we will put it out for them. At that point, they can be charged. What the gentleman received and his wife received was notice of violation of, wasn't a ticket or anything like that, it was just a notice of violation of the bylaw. And if we were to receive a second complaint within a 12-month period, you could be charged. The fee would normally be half an hour to put it out. So if we go again, the fee would be somewhere in around $210 based on the current fee schedule. If I can, I'll just add one thing.
Sure. Can you just tell Mr. Small where I think your first name is Edward, isn't it?
Yes.
Edward, yeah. If they would tell him in what part, I guess, of our bylaw he was in violation of. Thank you.
Response to complaints 2.3. A, should the Fire and Emergency Services Department be dispatched to a complaint regarding public safety due to fire and smoke hazard created by a cooking fire or upon notification of a prohibited open burn, which would be a large area in a rural area, not authorized under this bylaw, which is through myself, the fire chief or his or her designate will order the landowner or occupant to immediately extinguish the fire.
Does that help you, Mr. Small, with
Your
your
Honor,
question?
the fire we had was in compliance with the bylaw. We were cooking s'mores over the fire at the time. Marshmallows were on the fire, and the crackers and everything were there to do the s'mores as the fire truck approached. The fire was small. It was contained. It was more than 3 meters from any structure. So I don't see how we violated the bylaw in any manner in order to receive a written warning.
Chief?
Your Worship, if I could just add, the reason you received the warning is because somebody complained about the fire. We don't drive around looking for them. We pass them every day, but because we received a complaint, we have to put the fire out as per the bylaw.
Thank you. So do you understand that, Mr. Small? It's just that it is complaint driven, and even though you have two very nice letters here from your neighbors saying that they aren't offended by the fire, and they were, one neighbor was with you enjoying the fire, and the other letter tells us that you were across the street and he certainly never complained. So obviously it was somebody else who maybe found the smoke offensive. I understand that if they do have that right to complain, and as the fire chief said, that's the only reason they went to your property. Had they not received a complaint, you would have carried on the whole night without the.
So in compliance with this, I can drive around town, complain about every fire I see.
Correct.
Multiple times, and they would get fined even if they're not doing anything wrong.
They would get a citation like you.
I don't see how that is fair to the residents of Port Colborne, Your Honor. If the fire is compliant with all rules and we extinguish it when we're asked, what have we done wrong?
Councillor Butters, you have some.
See, through you, Madam Mayor, you're talking about a compliant fire, but what you're missing is there was a complaint, and so there was somebody in that neighborhood, whether it was, I mean, you don't know if it was smoke, you don't know if it was smell, you don't know why that person complained, but that's what the fire department's reaction to. This isn't about to say your little campfire was in compliance. The fact that somebody complained, that's what triggers the action, and that's what our fire department has to do, is respond to that complaint. They don't get to pick and choose, oh, well, this guy's fire is okay and that guy's fire isn't. It's complaint driven. If their complaint had not been received, nobody would have been bothering you whatsoever. But some neighbor of yours was bothered by it, and that's why it happened. Does that, I know that that's not the answer you want to hear, but that's the truth of it. So if you have another campfire and that same neighbor, decides, well, gee, that Ed Small's a real pain in the neck, am I ever going to give him trouble? They're going to be back and it's going to cost you money, and I personally don't want to see that for you. That's for sure.
I don't want to see it either, but my problem is there should be discretion for the fire department if they come. It's a very small contained fire and we put it out when asked. Why do we get a written warning to then get a fine the next time they come? If it is, like, quite literally about 20 minutes before the fire department came, two drunk people on bicycles went by yelling at us. With all due respect, it could have been them. I don't know. I've talked to all of my neighbors. None of them have voiced any opinions saying we did anything wrong. Quite a few of them enjoy campfires in their backyards as well.
Chief, do you want to have a comment for that?
Your Worship, the council, the problem we're into here is, and that's why we tried to keep it as clear, concise as we could when we went through this process, and council chose to go that route. The other side of the coin is it may or may not have been those two individuals that went by. I honestly don't know. I can tell you that the fire may not have bothered you, but if the smoke bothered somebody 5 houses down the road, how are we going to determine whether or not it's a legitimate complaint or just that somebody doesn't want to see a bonfire because they don't like to have bonfires in the community? Somebody may have asthma. There's all kinds of things that come into play. So the reality is, rather than put my people in a position where they're trying to debate whether or not they should put it out, and then we end up with another complaint filed against the fire department for not or failing to do what they were asked to do because of the complaint, they were ignored. We chose to do it this particular way. It's cut and dried. If we get a complaint, we show up, the fire has to be put out. And that's the decision of council of the day, and that was September of last year on my recommendation, simply because we end up with multiple debates between our people and neighbors, and I want to try to alleviate as much of that as I can from our perspective.
Thank you, Chief. Sorry, Mr. Small, I know that's just the way it is. That's what council had decided, that as on a complaint basis only, that the fire department would respond. And I can see it's quite in compliance, and you have process of elimination, Mr. Small. You had 2 neighbors there, and they thought it was great, so it has to be someone pretty close that did not think it was so great. So that's all I can tell you. Sorry. Councillor Elliott has a comment.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And obviously the chief answered my question, but when you read this citation, I can understand your confusion wholeheartedly. Because even with my reading glasses on, it's trouble. It says, the open air burning, you can only open air burn approved by the fire chief or designate, or the open air burning contains a small fire, contained fire. I can't even read it.
Would you like to
cook food on a grill? Yeah. Barbecue, spit, blah, 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 no
Distance
smoke.
from buildings, yeah.
Distance and everything like that. Perfect. So you can have a fire.
Unless you get a complaint.
But once you get a complaint, you can't have a fire. So, like, that's really weird that we're saying you can have a fire if you do this, but you can't have a fire if somebody complains.
That's correct.
I can't have a fire, I just have to wait 12 months.
Now you can't have a fire because you can't take the chance on the
So-
$210. So, and I get that what you're saying is that all complaints are justified, right? So the rule that says you can have a fire stops when a complaint is received about the fire.
I guess doesn't want that back.
Do you know what I mean? So we're telling you you can have a fire if it's done this way and in this matter and located here, but the minute that somebody complains, those rules are gone and you're subjected to the rules of the complaint, which leads to confusion. So I know we passed this, and when you read that, I can understand your confusion, because that confused me too, until you said that we always side on the side of the complainant. So,
with all due respect, Council, every enforcement agency has powers of discretion. Whether the police officer pulls you over and gives you a ticket or not, he has discretion. Whether the bylaw officer gives you a ticket for having a rack or a warning in front of their shop, it's discretion. The fire department should have the same discretion. If we resist putting it out, I can see why things should escalate. But if we're fully compliant with how the bylaw reads and we respect the wishes of the fire department and or a neighbor who complained, what have we done wrong? So now, if we have another fire, we're subject to a fine, even if we're still compliant. So for 1 full year, we're not allowed to have fires, but our neighbors can set off fireworks 3 doors down, and that's okay, on the same night.
Because you're a good neighbor and you didn't complain about them. Councillor Desmarais, did you have a comment?
I do, thank you. Acting Mayor, through you to Mr. Small. Mr. Small, it is, I can understand your frustration as well, but it comes down to this. If the fire department did have discretion not to issue you that warning, what would stop you or anyone else in that situation from having another fire the next week and bothering someone on their block who may have a health hazard triggered by the smoke? What would stop that from happening? That next time, should they also use discretion and again not issue any kind of a warning? Like this, it can escalate. I'm not saying you would do this, but there are many people who would. So it had to be, unfortunately, sometimes the best intentions suffer by the worst behaviors. So we had to put something in place that was protective of all, and this is. If there's a complaint, it goes out, you get a warning not to do this again, because the next time there would be a fine. And that's a fair warning. It's done, it's easy. It's up to you not to do it again. That's all. It's really quite simple.
With the way the current bylaw is written, you're allowed to have a fire except. That's not a law. A law is firm. So if you want to have fires, then you allow fires. If you don't want to have fires, you disallow fires. You can't say you can have fires until some random person who doesn't even have to put their name to it can put a fire, can have a nuisance complaint against your fire.
or a health complaint?
My neighbor smokes on his front porch next to us. It affects my mother-in-law when she comes to visit. My other neighbor heats his house with wood. It's all smoke. Two of my neighbors have smokers for their barbecues. I have a charcoal grill. It's all smoke. If the bylaw says you can have a fire, then you're allowed to have a fire. It shouldn't be, if you're fully compliant with the bylaw rules, then you can't have a fire once someone complains for a full year. That's not a valid bylaw, in my opinion. The bylaw should either be yes fires or no fires. If I'm doing something wrong, if I have a pile of 10 skids in my backyard on fire, I'm obviously doing something wrong. But if I'm having a small contained fire inside a fire pit with a grill, and we're actually cooking marshmallows for s'mores on it, I'm completely compliant with the bylaw as it sits. So I don't see how I now have a 12-year or 12-month ban on having a campfire in my backyard.
Councillor Main, did you have a comment?
Yes, I've listened to all this. Part 2, general provisions that the fire department put out, and I checked it against, I have in here the Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, Welland. It all has the same provision. Subject to section 2.2 and 2.3 herein, no person shall conduct or permit to be conducted an open-air burn within the boundaries of the city of Port Colborne unless permission has first been granted by the fire chief or his or her designate. That's it, in a nutshell. Exceptions, the recreational fires. Every person is permitted to conduct a campfire in a campground approved pursuant to Schedule A of the official plan of the city of Port Colborne. So basically the only people that can have campfires in the city of Port Colborne are the campgrounds, which is Shirkston and Pleasant Beach, and I don't know what the other ones are. And then the other part of that whole general provisions is if you do have a fire and your neighbor complains, you got to put it out. And this is how we, I know the chief and his staff did a lot of work looking at other municipalities, and if I have time, I could look up what I have on the other ones as well. Let me see. I know that Niagara Falls, just new one, is pretty well a mirror image of ours. St. Catharines is more stringent. So that's here somewhere. So here it is, open air burning in St. Catharines. In fact, theirs isn't as neatly written as Mr. Cartwright's. They even have a thing about smoky barbecues and smokers if you're going to smoke meat in your backyard. We don't have that one yet. Somebody else has a question when I'm looking for this. Go ahead.
Councillor Butters.
Yeah, I wasn't Niagara Falls the one that was looking at a looser bylaw, and didn't they try it and then they ended up with a whole lot of difficulties, and then they came back to more the one that mirrors ours? Or was that another municipality? I don't know if you remember, Chief. Runs in my mind that one of them was going to go one way and then they ended up.
Your worship to Councillor Butters and council. Niagara Falls, over 2 years it took them to get a bylaw passed. Some members of council, certainly who have watched television, have seen numerous debates that have taken place. They have a bylaw in Niagara Falls that was just recently passed. They were going to not allow it, then they were going to allow it, but now they've passed a bylaw that allows fires. The problem you get into with the way they've written the bylaw, in my opinion, is that when the fire department gets to there because of a complaint, they then have to assess the situation and try to determine if, in fact, the smoke is actually bothering anybody. I don't know quite how you go about doing that, but that was council's choice in the city of Niagara Falls. So if the platoon chief and the fire truck arrive to the burning complaint, they then have to look at the type of fire and see if there's smoke being given off that fire and where the wind is blowing, how strong the wind is. There's all kinds of various things that come into play. We felt, our people felt, that the easiest way is that if it's a fire, put it out.
Chief, I'm glad you brought that up. So this is what Mr. Small was saying. he was saying that if the fire department comes over and at their discretion felt there was no great amount of smoke, then he should still be allowed his fire. Because you've reported as the complaint asked you to do. You've gone to that resident. But what he's saying is no discretion has been given to the fire department as to whether or not, in their opinion, as professionals in that business, if that fire would be bothering anyone. If it's smoky, too much smoke, I mean, what is, in their opinion, the complaint?
Your Honor, I'm quite happy with the bylaw being written that if there's a complaint, the fire be put out. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But why should I also receive a warning if there's no real issue with the bylaw, what I'm doing in my backyard?
Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you. Through you to the presenter. I guess council tried to pick kind of a happy medium where, for the most part, people have small fires on a regular basis, you know, doing s'mores like you were doing or whatever, and nothing happens. You know, it continues. Every once in a while, and we had people here who have actually had that fine, you know, I guess it's just luck of the draw sometimes. It might not seem fair, but, you know, for the most part it works. We didn't want to ban fires outright, which would have been the easy part, I guess, and then just say no. And every once in a while there's a, you know, there's a situation like yours where, you know, you may have more and never get a complaint, but, you know, complaints sometimes are just mean and other times are for good reason. And you know, to the comment, well, let the fire department figure it out. Well, by the time the complaint comes in and they get there, the fire might have changed drastically from, you know, smoky to less than smoky. So I guess, you know, I wouldn't like to see the fire department trying to determine what happened 10 minutes ago or 15 or 20 minutes ago. Or maybe the person sat there for a half hour before they complained, you know, about a fire. So I hear what you're saying. It sounds a little convoluted, the bylaw, but I think we tried to make the best out of a situation that, you know, I think we knew wouldn't be exactly perfect in the end. But it is what it is for now, and unless, you know, the only other, I guess, thing that could be looked at some point is, do you get 2 warnings in the year? You know, I don't know. And that, I'm sure, would aggravate somebody that was complaining for a legitimate reason if the next night you had one and the smoke went in through their windows or something. You know, it's not an easy answer to this. It's just kind of, that's the way it is, I guess, and it's unfortunate, but that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments? Sure.
This pertains to you, so but I want to direct it to the chief. So anytime anybody gets a complaint about a fire, we're dispatched, we're going to put it out, they automatically get a warning? Everybody gets a warning on the first time?
Through your worship, not everybody. If the fire gets out of control.
Okay, hang on. So you're going to get fined if it gets out of control?
That's correct.
That's the only time?
That's
so
correct.
If we show up and the fire is like raging, you're going to get fined right away?
Your worship, if I can. I can give you a recent example. I'm sure the person's going to show up here and complain he just got a bill for $4,300 for a fire that got out of control in a rural area. And our guys were there for 3.5 hours. We had our whole department there for 3.5 hours. And he just got invoiced for $4,300 based on the fee schedule. I'm sure that's going to come to council. So in that particular case, there's no second chance. You get the bill. And the bylaw allows for that, and the fee schedule allows for that. In this particular case, if it's a campfire, everybody gets one chance in a 12-month period.
Okay, so they show up, so we show up once at a little backyard fire. The first complaint you get, here's your warning. Everybody.
As far as I know, everybody gets issued a warning, one chance, under this particular bylaw, and has been the way it's been since 1984. That hasn't changed. even with the new bylaw, we just implemented it again.
Okay. I just want to make sure, like, if we're going to do it, let's do it evenly, because, I mean, Mr. Small's not complaining about putting the fire out. It's just that, you know, because if you read that, the warning, right, your first call out, it says you can have one, but then you can't. So that's where the confusion lies. Because that's what it says right on the ticket that he got. You can have a small fire if you cook on it. But if somebody complains, you can't have the fire. So I can understand the confusion. And it would almost be that, you know what, if we showed up and talking about you don't want to put the fire department in harm's way, but if the guys show up, yeah, you're putting it out, but in our estimation, it didn't warrant the write-up ticket. If we show up another time, you know, and you're billowing smoke and everything like that, but that's for another day. So, yeah, you can have a fire, but you can't have somebody complain. So that's the way it's written, and that's where we are.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Small, for coming forward. Appreciate it.
Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Okay, that's the end of our delegations. Council, I'm just going to give you a brief mayor's report. I had the privilege this past week to attend the opening performance of Fitz Happens. It's one of the first of our 4 productions by Showboat Festival Theatre, and it was a wonderful evening. The remaining performances are almost now completely sold out. The next show is called Real Estate, and it runs from June the 29th until July the 3rd. So if you're interested, and if there are any tickets left available, I would suggest that you call the box office soon. I also had the privilege of attending the 79th Linton Davies Air Cadet Squadron, and I attended the 75th annual review of this squadron, and they were an amazing group of individuals as well. I'm completely amazed by their training that they received and the performance that they put on for everyone that was there. And I also commend the group of volunteers for providing an aviation and citizenship training program that provides the youth of our community an opportunity to become well-rounded, community-minded, experienced young people who are ready to assume their places as tomorrow's leaders and decision makers. I'm happy to announce also that on July 21st, for the first time ever, the police board are leaving their quarters and they will be holding a meeting in Port Colborne. It took the chief a little bit of a surprise, but through regional councillors Bob Gale and David Barrick and I, we had a little discussion one day after a regional council meeting, and we decided to they decided to make that motion at their police services board meeting, and the chief agreed. So that'll be great news for everybody's welcome to come, and I just want to say that it was great news that is happening in Port Colborne first. Also, last Thursday we broke ground on our new operations center on Clowley Street West, right next to the fire hall. The project, when completed, will provide a clean, safe working environment for all of our operations and engineering staff. There was a lot of people in attendance. We had a barbecue. It was great. One disgruntled taxpayer, but that's okay. Handing out flyers, but also the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Welland Courthouse will be taking place next week in Welland. I think it's right in the downtown core, but they're building a new courthouse there. Now grants, I just want to let the public know, grants for the nonprofit organizations. The City of Port Colborne recognizes the vital contributions of our many charitable organizations, service clubs, and nonprofit organizations in enhancing the quality of life in our community. So we are currently accepting grant requests with a deadline of June the 30th. And for more information, you can check out our website or call Nancy in the mayor's office. One disappointing news that we have, and that is very disappointing, I think, to all of us, that there are individuals stealing flowers from the city's garden beds. I don't know, you pick them up pretty cheap, you know. at the market on Fridays, but they're not happy with doing that. And so I'm asking anybody, if they see this happening, if they would please report it to Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. And Joe Crawford, live, he dropped off a card for all of you to take a look at. And he is going to be performing in a special series starting at 7 o'clock at King George Park. You've probably heard him before on market days. He was out crooning there several times, and but he's going to have August the 9th, Oldies Night, August the 16th, Country Night, August 23rd, Elvis Night, and that will be by Joe Crawford and Dave the Crooner. And you see these cards around. Please come out and hear them perform. I know I've heard Joe many times, and he's very good at crooning. And that is the end of my report. Regional Councillor Barrick is not here today. Him and I spent the day in Newmarket. We just got back actually in time for the meeting tonight. I got back into town about 5:45. And I was teasing him because I said, you're my son's age. Because he said he was tired. And I said, I have a council meeting yet to go to. But he was with me all day. We attended the Conservation Authority's conference in Newmarket, and very interesting information was exchanged. And I sat at a great table of individuals who had lots to bring to the table. So it was very, very enjoyable. And that's all I have to tell you this evening. Now we will move on to councillors' items. Okay, Councillor Main, we'll start with you and go right down that side, and on this side, Councillor Thomas. Thank you.
Okay, I have a few things. First of all, this is it's not a criticism. It's an accolade for staff. I find them extremely helpful. They've done a great job, and they're very polite on the phone, and they answer the emails right away. So Chris Lee and his group, and Harry and his group, pat yourselves on the back, because it might not be that way next council meeting, so take it while you can get it. The other one is Centennial Park. Now, we talked about, B was commenting about the porta potty getting tipped over out at Pleasant Beach. And I had not been to Centennial Park, and I must admit, for years, because last time I was there, they had the ball diamonds in the back in the big barn. And I had the opportunity to go there on Sunday, and what a remarkable park that is, and how underused it is. I walked through the pavilions, I walked through the washrooms. Everything is first class. The beach was nice, and nobody was there. And yet we have people at the end of Pleasant Beach Road crammed in there, tipping over outhouses, when they could actually be sitting on a flush toilet at Centennial Park. So, having said that, that's great. I mean, to me, that's the jewel. They say what you want about Nickel Beach, say what you want about the marina. Centennial Park is a jewel, so use it.
Word for rocks, baby.
Yeah. Okay. And the other one, let me see, shopping carts. You know, we talk about shopping carts every time we come, at least once every couple of meetings. Is there nothing we can do with the transit, the bus service, to pick these poor people up that do not have cars, to load their groceries up and take them on the route, rather than push shopping carts all over town? To me, there's not a spot anywhere that you don't see a shopping cart. Do we have a transit committee?
Yes, we do.
I suggest that maybe that's what they start looking at. And I won't even make that a motion.
They want to walk, John. They just don't want to walk back.
And the other one is the NHS.
Sorry, John.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Sinez wants to make a comment.
Mr. Sinez.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Main. The Transit Committee did look at that, and there was a stop. Basically, we changed the route so that the bus actually stops at the corner where Food Basics is. So if anybody is looking to get on the bus, they can go from the grocery store just to the corner, and they can get on the bus right at the corner, and they don't have to walk down to City Hall or any place else with the shopping cart. So we did make that adjustment so that it actually stops at the stop sign on Elm and, is it Elm? Yeah, Elm and Charlotte, so that people can go there and actually get on the bus there, because the bus physically stops there.
Thank you so much, Peter. I did not know that. My next question through Madam Mayor to Peter. Is there a sign there that says it's a bus stop?
Unfortunately, through you, Councillor or Deputy Mayor, unfortunately, no, because we don't actually have physical bus stops. But the fact, because there's a stop sign there, it does stop. But we have tried, I believe, to tell Food Basics that, you know, if they can tell people, but I don't know if they do. Tell people that they could go there. But the bus drivers also, I believe, in the past have, you know, made the comments that they're, you know, you can get on the bus there. You can actually get on the bus anywhere if you wave down the bus. The only real bus stop that there is in front of City Hall, because it's the home base. But you know, wherever it stops at a stop sign, people can get on the bus at that point in time. Or if they wave down the bus along the route, the bus will stop and pick them up and take them to wherever they want along the route.
Thank you so much, Peter. Oh.
On that issue, on the carts, can you remind me again why the bus does not go into Food Basics?
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor. There's not enough room for them to safely go through, and also it's because it's private property. They would need special permission to go onto their property, and there's not, through where they go through there's not, from what I've been told, there's not enough room for the bus to actually stop. You let people on and off safely, because there's other traffic going by within the parking lot area. There's no specific spot that they can safely load and unload pedestrians or customers on the bus. We have asked that question.
Yeah, it's unusual because lots of buses go into lots of private property everywhere else.
We can ask it again.
I know. I'm just wondering if it would help with their buggy problem. If you actually went in and picked people up, you wouldn't be chasing as many buggies down. Just.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This isn't to anybody in particular, but is the appetite there to have the NHS come to council and set the record straight of what exactly is going on with the NHS in our community? I've heard stories from some people who work for the NHS, some people who are on the coalition, some people who are in the nurses organization, and the odd doctor. And nobody seems to be on the same page. Would it be possible, as your municipality, to ask the NHS to come here and do a presentation at council?
Councillor, are you asking for that request?
I'm asking.
Then we shall make a request to the NHS. I'll let you know, I'll give you an update of when they could come and present, okay?
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
I'm done.
Thank you. Councillor Desmarais.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Well, I think that Councillor Main has read my mind, or read my notes anyway, because first thing on my list is shopping carts, again. Now, I've brought that issue to this table many times over the last couple of years, and I'm glad to hear there's concern about the shopping carts that include busing. But the busing has nothing to do with the anywhere between 8 and 16 shopping carts that you can find on any Monday from Bell Street South over in Ward 2. That has nothing to do with that. Now, apparently there is someone who is employed to pick those carts up and bring them back to the store, but that someone doesn't do it unless there's enough to warrant his time. If he doesn't have a day's worth of work, he doesn't do it. So, you know, it's not getting done. And the fact is, there's nothing more disgusting than looking down a street and seeing 3 or 4 shopping carts just scattered around anywhere. Would you like that out front of your house? I don't think you would. It's just, it's out of control, and this city, the City Hall needs to address it by dealing with food basics, because that's where they're coming from. We need to make a request to food basics, whether it be that they put some kind of fee on the little regulators with a dollar fee similar to the no frills ones, or that they put the locking mechanisms on so that those carts can't leave the parking lot. And as for people who don't have a way to get their groceries home, that's what the little $20 buggies are for. And I mean, $20 is, yes, it's a chunk out of your food budget, but you're only going to pay it probably once in a year or two, and you'll be able to get your food home every time. So, we need to be doing that. We have to be realistic about this, because the residents of the city shouldn't have to pay for the fact that one grocery store is they're really treating the city with disrespect as far as I'm concerned. So that needs to be dealt with, and I would like to see staff put together some kind of response or some kind of request to deal with this.
Thank you, Councillor. What I'll do is I'll send that out through the mayor's office this week, okay?
Okay, thank you. And just as we arrived tonight, you would have seen a shopping cart right on City Hall steps.
Thank you.
It's everywhere. Okay, I have one more item, and it just came in actually within the last 2 minutes. And this, I'll leave the names out, but it says, I know you're at a meeting at City Hall, but my husband just came home with a complaint. There were 2 soccer teams and a little kids baseball team, all with boys and girls playing at the washroom, all with boys and girls playing, sorry, and the washrooms were closed. By the time, I believe this is at the Valley Center, they don't actually make a note of it. By the time you walk from the soccer field to the arena, especially with young ones, you've missed the majority of the practice. It was really nice when we had a porta potty placed in the back for soccer, but that was taken away. A lot of the seniors are also complaining. If you could mention this, I would be grateful, and so would a lot of other parents. Thank you from us all. So I don't know who would like to address that.
Comment about washrooms. Gary, can you give us an update?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Desmarais, I will take that complaint back to the Parks Division staff, and I'll discuss it with Chris Lee tomorrow morning, and we'll resolve something or come up with a resolution.
Thank you.
Report back.
Councillor Butters.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Desmarais and Harry Hakeem, do I have a porta potty for you? My friends here at Pleasant Beach, boy, I tell you, they've done a bang-up job here. We suggested to them maybe they would maybe do a petition and get people to sign about removing the porta potty at Pleasant Beach Road. They've gotten some 48 signatures, all of which are folks from the fire lanes affected, as well as Pleasant Beach Road. So I'm going to put that into the record that this petition has been duly signed and noted, and it's asking for the removal of the porta potty at the Pleasant Beach Road allowance. So I'd like to be able to do that. They also have a lovely picture here of the tipped over porta potty that actually happened, I guess, last Saturday, was it? I just hope nobody was in it at the time. I don't know if it got set back up, or I don't know even if our staff was aware of this incident. If I could ask through you, Deputy Mayor, to Chris Lee, if...
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Butters. That's the first we were aware of it being tipped over, but I'll have a discussion tomorrow morning with staff and just see what the situation is, and
okay, I think
see
that
if we can nail it down or something.
I think if people are doing such stupid things, like my opinion is take the porta potty out of there, and I'm going to pass this down to Ms. Grigg there to have that entered into the record, as that is the request of those petitioners. The other question I have is there been a public meeting night assigned for the fire lanes regarding the parking issues on Pleasant Beach Road starting off, and I'll maybe towards our acting CAO?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Butters, yes. The meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 22nd, 5 to 7 p.m.
Where?
Here in City Hall,
okay.
Council Chambers.
Have the notices been mailed out?
Yes, they've been mailed out last Friday.
Last Friday? Okay.
Yes.
So they'd be hitting people's doorsteps probably this week sometime?
Oh, I would assume so, yes.
Perfect. So can I just go back to the porta potty? At what point do we make, like, who's going to make that decision? Or is the council make that decision to yank that thing out of there, or what? Anybody?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Butters. Yes, that can be a decision they can make right now if they want to, and just direct us accordingly.
Well, is
It
the
was placed
signatures
there
on
la-
this petition enough to,
It was placed last year at the request of council, if I remember
yes.
correctly, because people were relieving themselves in people's front yards.
Like, I know this is a tough one, but I'm reacting with the neighbors out there, and they've signed this petition. So if they live there, I'm assuming that they will know the consequences of that porta potty being gone. It won't be being tipped over, that's for sure, if it's not there anymore. But
Any comments?
I'm looking for some direction here.
I'll ask the obvious question. If we decide to take it out and we get complaints that they want it back, do we put it back again?
No.
No? So if it's gone, it's gone. End of discussion.
Well, may I continue? Just, we have a petition. There's 48 people signed on there from that area. I had a look, and they're all like fire lane, of those fire lanes. Can I just ask the ladies, I got it from, did you get anybody say, oh no, we want the porta potty? Like, how was the response?
I would just like to say thank you, because I know that we've been here last year and now we're back again, and you're like, oh, the Pleasant Beach people are here. but I would like to say thank you. The first thing is
Excuse me, yeah, you need to always, when you come up to the podium, give your name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Full name and your address.
Okay.
Thank you.
Joanne Tenebra, 5340 Fire Lane 21, Pleasant Beach. Thank you. So the majority of the people do want the toilet out of the road, because it is, the road allowance is about 60 feet to 80 feet long. And that's, so most of the people want it out. Now, obviously, the restaurant wants to keep the porta potty there because she doesn't want people to use her restroom, because then they, are utilizing her facilities. But the bigger thing is, and this is sort of even scarier, a lot of people don't use the porta potty anyway to relieve themselves. We already know this. And so what happens in the porta potty is other stuff, like kids fooling around and tipping them over and everything else, because most people won't. Now, there are people who say, what if I'm on the beach and I have a little baby, or the windsurfers want to change, they need a place. So then we get back to, is it a road or is it a beach? And we've been through this 100 times. If it's a beach, then people say they want it city run, they want daily removal of trash and garbage and glass, they want the toilet that comes with the hand sanitizer and the wash and everything else that comes with a real facility for a beach. But just putting a toilet at the end of the sand dune isn't really doing anything. We're saying if it's a beach, maintain it like a beach. We don't want to keep people away from us. We're not like that. We want the horses and the people to walk and the kids. But right now what you have is just a blue thing that people utilize for other functions than to relieve themselves to go to the bathroom in the first place. So there are the three things are people want it absolutely out, or they want the city to run it and daily come, make sure there's toilet paper, make sure there's hand sanitizer, make sure it's clean. I don't know if any of you have ever been to these outdoor events where there's It's not really a porta potty. They have like a wash and hands and hand sanitizer and the whole thing. And they come with a nice facility. They have sanitary pads and everything for people that go to the beach. So people are saying, if it's going to be like this, just get it out, because it's just a nuisance and more trouble for kids. And I don't want to blame teenagers, but it's just more stuff for kids to sort of get into that is unwise and late at night. That's what it's turned out to become.
Any questions? Councilor Water.
Thank you. I don't think that's an unreasonable request. We have staff that go to Centennial Park Beach every morning to look at the washrooms there. And we certainly didn't put that porta potty in for the residents. It was put in for the people that use the beach. And whether it's a road allowance or a beach, it's certainly used as a beach by, we're not encouraging.
At this particular point, it's cordoned off pretty well by Shirkston and the private property. I mean, now we have cement blocks and barbed wire and metal fencing that really runs. It's probably not the width of this room anymore.
It should be 66 feet wide.
Yes.
And I'd like our staff to check that.
There's already a trailer park there.
Yep.
Okay, and I think it was 100 cottages all total. And that's for 60 feet of beach. And plus whatever you have allocated for parking. And now we have cement blocks. They're probably at least this high and probably that wide, cube squared. And we have maybe 10 of them, 15 of them right down the line, as they say. And then on the other side, there's steel fencing with wire. I'm not necessarily sure what you're considering a beach at this point, and I'm not angry. I'm really not angry. I just don't know what we're looking at, because I'm here on this beach. This will be my 59th year. And I do remember it when the kids ran and the horses were outside and they were running through the waves and people weren't so crazy over their property and who's got private beach and who you can't come here and this one and this. Do you think I would like to see a woman with 2 little babies in the middle of an afternoon looking for a facility for her baby? Or tell the kid to go to the top of the dune and wipe himself in the dirty sand? Mr. Bodner, you've known me. I've been here many times. Yep. That is not my objective. What we're saying is, it's not a beach. We like it to be a beach, and in our minds it's a beach, but it's not being facilitated as a beach. And if it's not going to be facilitated as a beach, then we have to get the toilet off the road.
Okay, but whatever we call it, it's still used. It's a road allowance open to the public, 66 feet wide, and right. I agree, if we're going to put a toilet there, we would put a toilet like we would expect us to use it, right?
Right.
Or anybody to use it.
Anyone.
And I agree that this one is probably less than,
it's less than desirable.
Yes, yes. So if staff could get us some pricing and what would be required to maintain that, that would be, I don't think, an unrealistic, expectation
right now at the end of the road,
people.
there's a toilet and massive garbage.
Can I speak, please? Thank you. Just that it'd be a, expected of people that would want to use the toilet. It should be up to standard, I would think. And I would suggest that when you go out to check that tomorrow, Chris, or whoever goes out, you might want to clean it. If it was tipped over, or get rid of it and flip another one out there. It just seems to be the right thing to do. But, yeah.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Bodner. We'll have staff go out in the morning and just see what the situation is first up, and then we can come back and see what some of the options are with upgrading that to some of the features that you've mentioned in this conversation, and see how that compares to what we have now.
Sure, and look and see positioning, or, if you're going to put it there and it gets tipped over, that's, there's got to be some way to secure it or something, and then...
And that type of facility will need maintenance, so that would have to be considered as well.
Well, that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
If the majority of the people don't want it there, what would be the motivation to keep it?
Well, for one thing, I agree with the restaurant owner that's there. That restaurant's on a septic system. There's no way they're going to allow outside, people that aren't their patrons to use that. And if people are using that road allowance, which they certainly can use it if they want to, and we're trying to discourage people from coming there, but they're going to come there, there's got to be some kind of facility there for them to use.
I'm not sure. I mean, what do you have porta potties on all of the road allowances throughout Port Colborne that lead to the water?
No,
I mean, what do you do with all of those porta potties?
Those road allowances are not used like Pleasant Beach road allowance is.
Why?
Because there's obviously more people that like Pleasant Beach than like anything else.
Well, I don't think I'm connecting the dots.
Sorry, Joanne. Sorry.
It's okay.
You don't get to debate with the counselor.
Oh, no. I was just
You've made your
curious. I
comments.
just wanted to know what the
okay.
other porta potties look like throughout the city.
So what all Councillor Bodnar has asked staff is to go out and put a more modern porta potty there, just like you suggested. Because you said yourself, I don't want to see a mother with a child with no place to bring their child, right? So you asked for a hand sanitizer and some other amenities, because the one we have out there obviously is no good. So what Councillor Bodnar is saying, if he puts, yes, we have a signature petition here with 48 people that said they do not want it.
Right.
But you said when you went out that there were some people who didn't have an objection to it, they just didn't like the one that was there. Just like you said, you don't like the one that's there. It's not up to snuff. So I guess what I'm asking you is, do you want to try this new porta potty with the amenities you asked for, or you don't want anything? You don't want anything. Do you want to try it, or you just want us to take it out and never mind the neighbor who has the restaurant, and never mind the individuals who have children who...
I think that would be hubris.
Yes. Would you be okay with that?
Would you say that would be hubris for me to make a decision?
No, I'm just asking you to make us a decision, because we're going to send staff out there tomorrow to remove it.
I feel like the porta potty should go personally.
Thank you. That's all you needed to say. Any other comments, Councillor Bodnar?
Not right now, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just one comment. The sign that's going to go on the road allowance advising of Centennial Beach and Nickel Beach with proper parking and washroom facilities should be going up any day now.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. And thank you.
Thank you for... Anything else of Joanne? Any other questions? No? Okay, Councillor Bodnar, Councillor Butters, do you have another question or a comment?
Well, it's just that if staff's going to go out and check this one out, and I think Joanne's comments about it isn't just about, it isn't just about the porta potty. It's about the cleanliness of that facility. And the idea is that when we have our staff going to Centennial Beach, what happens at Nickel Beach, garbage is removed on a very regular, daily kind of basis. Washrooms are cleaned on a very regular kind of basis. If this is going to be treated as a facility, then we treat it like another facility, not as kind of like an afterthought. So, cleanliness is really important here. So I don't know, what that looks like in terms of our staffing complement and how they work that in. Because I'm sure they're going to come back and say, well, we don't have enough people to go down to Pleasant Beach, once a day or whatever it takes at the other places. Like, I don't know that answer. Maybe Chris does.
Mr. Lee, can you give us a comment on that, please?
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Buddy. Yes, that's correct. It is going to take more staff time. That hasn't been allocated. It's not that we can't. We'll see what we can do to accommodate council's requests. My only concern is right now is I need clarification on, is it in or out?
Well, if I went by the feeling of that neighborhood, and you know, almost 50% of signatures of the 100 or so cottages, it sounds to me like they want it out. And I mean, as far as, you know, other people, I mean, we're going to be redirecting people away from that beach when they kind of realize that there isn't a facility there, but where there is at the other places. You would think that that would make it a desirable place for the kind of visitors that have been there. I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Mr. Aquilino, when did you say our meeting with the Pleasant Beach people are? When is the date?
Deputy Mayor, June 22nd, 5 to 7 p.m. I am pretty sure 5 to 7 p.m. or maybe 6:30 to 8:30 or 6 to 8, in around that time, but guaranteed June 22nd.
Okay.
And the neighbors have been notified.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I'd like to ask residents there. If Mr. Lee has said that he can go and bring you a different porta potty for modernization, hand sanitation, all that stuff. What I'm suggesting is that before any final decision is made about this porta potty, that he remove the one that has been tipped over and is probably in terrible shape, that he put a new one back there with these facilities that they're asking for. And then when we have the meeting with all the residents in that area on June 22nd, a final decision is made. Done. I think that we should wait to hear from everyone. I understand we have the petition, and we'll certainly keep that in mind. And I think that's a fair thing to do. It's a fair for everyone. And so if we could wait then to June 22nd before we make a final decision, if that's okay with the speaker who came, thank you. That's great. And comment, comment?
I'm sorry. To Deputy Mayor, to Chris. Do we own that porta potty, or is it rented from a porta potty guy?
It's a rental.
It's a rental?
Yes.
Is it not the rental's responsibility to keep their porta potty clean?
In the rental agreement, there are some clauses on what they are responsible for, essentially to monitor the quantity within it as opposed to a day. There is nothing that I am aware of that they have to do a daily cleanup on it, no.
Okay, thanks.
Deputy Mayor, I just confirmed it is Wednesday, June 22nd at 6:30 p.m.
Just like our council meeting.
Yes. And the other thing, too, is when we put the notice out there, we only talked about the tollway zones. The notice didn't say anything about the porta potty. Just make that known.
Well, perhaps when they get here, we'll introduce the porta potty to them and let them discuss that as well. But thank you. I hope that satisfies your concerns. And so if everybody's okay with that, if everybody's okay with that, perfect. Do we need a motion for that? Do we need a motion? Do we need a motion or anything? Everybody satisfied? We're going to wait till, we don't need a motion. I just consulted with the clerk. We don't need a motion of any kind, so we'll just leave it like that. Okay? You have another one? Thank you.
I'm a pain in the neck tonight.
That's all right.
I know. This question through you, Deputy Mayor, is, I guess to Chris Lee. They've been doing a lot of work on the sides of Highway 3 and big drainage pipes going in, and a couple of those really big ones, and they were actually double ones. Like then they come out across Highway 3 and say near my road. So I'm wondering like how our side roads are going to be accommodating what looks like a really increased volume of water would be able to pass through, and then they're going to be coming like great big to not so big.
Through you, Acting Mayor, to Councillor Butters, the MTO is, as you were well aware, is installing those new upgraded pipes, and some of the sizes have increased. Others are just a like-for-like replacement. That being said, we will, in the case of your particular road, then there's roadside ditching that will happen that will lead down to the municipal drain that's there as well, which is currently under report and will be cleaned as well. That being said, most of the culverts that are being installed are a like-for-like scenario. Sometimes there's two in the place where there was maybe one previously, but the sizing is different. So the volumes of water that the MTO has put forward to us is not going to be too much of an increase. In some areas, none. But where the areas where they are increasing, then obviously the roadside ditching will have to be modified, if you would, or cleaned out to accommodate.
Thank you, appreciate that. And my last thing is I just want to, my email on my iPad tanked on me this past week. So to all those who sent me an email and I never got back to you, that's why. And I just want to really thank Councillor Desmarais and Jamie Lee and Jim Allen for getting me back up and running, and for Angie kind of sending the messages back and forth, because I couldn't email anybody and all I could do is Facebook Angie, and she sort of helped make all that happen. So thanks everyone for getting me back in the loop.
That's it. Thank you, Councillor. On this side, Councillor Danch.
Long time waiting for this one. I got my question's twofold to Harry there. I handed Harry a map of the Lockheed Park, and last year when we had a little sawhorse race, we had a big Zoom boom left there by the Seaway, and I'm just kind of requesting that maybe you can monitor it as we get closer to the second annual sawhorse race, which is going to be held on Saturday, July the 30th, in that same Lockheed Park. Anyone's invited to join in and try and beat my horse, which won it all last year, of course.
Is that drug tested?
Alcohol induced.
Not the horse rider.
I wasn't riding. I did send Harry the advertisement, and it has a link, and I'd ask that you put on our web page for the city. It's all to do for Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and it's a totally free event. We've got the Shriners showing up with a food trailer. We've got secondhand news coming down to play some music. We've had face painters and different things, and it's really family oriented, and it's a good day, and it's on the right part of town, which is Main Street. So if you want to take a look at the city site, I'd appreciate it, Harry, if we could get that stuff, and if we could hand it to Jamie, and anybody who wants to challenge us, we'll be there. It's July the 30th, and it starts at 11 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bodden.
Thank you. Gail told me to hit you, but you're on camera, so I can't do it. Through you, Acting Mayor, to Chris, I guess. Chris, dust control on the stone roads. It's been a dry spring. There's been, it's been a lot of dust. Staff said they were working on getting the contractor and everything. Do we have any time frame on that you know of?
Through you, Acting Mayor Kenny, to Councillor Bodner. I talked with our road superintendent earlier today. That being said, I will follow up tomorrow morning to make certain that our contractor will show up as they have promised. Short of us going out and doing it ourselves, that's not the intent, but we will see if we can get them out there presently. Carl Road is not the only location that we have, so we have a number of locations throughout the Ward 4 area, and they were scheduled to come in earlier, but they pulled out for whatever reason, and we'll be on top of them.
Okay, and I guess my next question is, if we get a dry summer like is forecast, do we do it a second time, or did we just budget for a one-time deal?
What we do with the type of material that we're using now, depending on the weather, if it's a drier summer, the humidity is low, what we use is a calcium concoction, if you would, and what that does is actually draws humidity from the air, and if it's a normal summer, then the treatment is only required once annually, but we do have some funds that we can allocate in certain areas if it becomes excessively dry and the humidity is low, and then the calcium doesn't work as well.
So Carl Road is the one that I certainly get calls on. That is a stone road that actually has school buses on it. I don't know how many, but there's at least one every day on that road. I don't know of any other stone roads that have school buses on it. So that could maybe beat up the road where that calcium stuff won't do it. So I'd like you to kind of keep an eye on that one, just to see. The one gentleman on there has a medical condition that forces him inside if he's outside to COPD, and he cannot take that dust. I know that's his problem, but if we can, help that by doing a second application in a timely manner, I think we should at least consider that.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Bardner, we can definitely consider that. That being said, we can monitor the dust conditions specifically. Luckily for us, the school buses won't be running too much longer, but we can definitely make certain that we don't have any excess dust.
Certainly.
Through you to the acting CAO. Dan, could you send us Barb and I, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see any information about that June 22nd meeting. Could we see what that flyer says, and if you could email us something on that?
Definitely, I will.
Okay.
I'll send it all to council.
Okay. Thank you very much. And just one other thing, Councillor Butters, I'm glad you said about your email. I just thought you didn't like me anymore, so I unfriended you on Facebook and everything. I'll just come back, so anyways, thanks.
Councillor Elliott, I believe you want to comment?
No, I had a couple items. Can I
Okay, go right ahead.
deliver my items, or?
Yeah,
Yeah? Beautiful.
just for you, Ken.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Chris. Are we scheduled for line painting this year in the city?
Through you, Acting Mayor, to Councillor excuse me, Elliott. Yes, we
I
are.
usually choke people up. That's
The contract is actually out as we speak for an award, so we'll be coming back hopefully within the next council report with a recommendation.
Have we specified in the tender? I think last year we had talked about upgrading the paint to something that lasts a little bit longer. We're going to tender with those provisions?
We have two paint options within the tender document, one of them being the longer lasting, and the report will then make a recommendation on the costing associated with that.
Okay, thank you, perfect. I'll beat you up again. I'll try not to cough this time. Do we annually wash our sidewalks in the spring to get rid of the sand and salt mix that's been deposited on them?
Through you, Acting Mayor Kenny, to Councillor Elliott, yes, we do. We do that usually before, way before the street sweeping starts, so that we can blast the materials up to the curb, and then the street sweeper does its routine.
Have we done it this year yet?
Yes, we have.
We have? Because there's certain sections downtown that don't look like they've been done. I know that at the corner of Clarence and Catherine, by the, just lost my, Market Cafe and the Legion and Catherine Street, or sorry, Charlotte, just down here by the British Baking Company. Looks like it was missed, and there's some other spots downtown that.
I have a road tour planned with the roads foreman on Wednesday, and I can bring that up to his attention at that time. Some of it may be a result of the sidewalk replacement, though, and we can easily address those concerns once he's finalized his repairs.
If you could, especially, we got some big event going on, Civic Weekend, so, the really big event we're having is Art Crawl this Saturday. So
I was going to do that.
No,
go ahead.
I will see to you, and after me, you can do that. So if you can, just have a look and see, because there looks like there's some deposits left that we might have missed. So if you can on your tour. And the last item I had, it's unfortunate that our economic development officer isn't here, because obviously we should throw some kudos his way with the announcement of GE going up to Welland. I mean, it's a major win. Not only for Niagara as a whole and specifically Welland, but in having a conversation with Evan, it was cooperation between the 5 EDOs and the region that really pulled this together. And when I saw the square footage of this building, I'm thinking, holy smokes, let's hope that this is the catalyst to have other people take a look at the area as well. When you see that the name on the sign and it says GE, I'm hoping that others will see the benefit to coming down here. Land is available. There's a heck of a lot of incentives to come here. All municipalities in Niagara are working very, very hard and working cooperatively to land businesses to come here. So if you know, it's always good to get it out that we're open for business across Niagara. And I think that's one thing that Evan specified, was that in the consultations and talks with GE, they did work together as one and said, we really don't care where you go, just have an address that says Niagara on it. So they were overwhelmed by that fact, and it's nice to see that they actually landed another big one. So good things going on. Congratulations to the City of Welland, well-deserved, but also to all the people across Niagara that had a hand in it. Really a great win. It's really going to benefit everybody. So let's hope that it's just the building block that we need to start on. So congratulations to them. And that's it for me. And if you,
Councillor, go ahead, please.
you want to?
No, you go ahead.
Little event this weekend. Ms. Gail Todd is in the house tonight, and art crawl 5 till 11 p.m. Saturday, June the 18th. Thank you. I was going to say that. 5 to 11 throughout downtown Port Colborne. Come and visit our shops, retailers, see some fantastic art. Come for dinner. Come for a drink. Stay as long as you want. Art crawl ends at 11 o'clock. I'm sure you could find some dinner if you want afterwards and whatnot. But we just welcome everybody to downtown Port Colborne as the place that the event is taking place, but Port Colborne as a whole. So come early, stay late, and we hope it's a roaring success. And I hope that the weather is just a tad bit better than last year, because I know that the fire department had to make a call out for a little river that was flowing through one building. So keep your fingers crossed. We hope for sunny weather and a great event, which knowing Gail and all her cohorts, it will be. So good on you, and good luck. Keep your fingers crossed for the weather.
Is that it, Councillor? Councillor Elliott? Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, I just have a few. Chris, these are mainly for you. And I know I don't think we've seen our traffic study done yet. Okay, well, here's another one to throw in. I had to request for a four-way stop at Ferris and Bell. Especially, it was noted, and it just happened I went there on a Sunday as well. From the church, there is no, they park on both sides there, and it's brutal. The sight lines are terrible. So if there's a four-way stop, person feels that'll be way better for crossing. Also a request again, so if it's in the study, it'll be in there. Again, just really, they've given up on us ever getting a stoplight on Elgin and Steele, but they were wanting to know if we could consider, prior to that intersection where we know a lot of seniors are crossing, if there could be a sign put up that says, slow down, seniors crossing. I know that's me too, Ron, so, but anyways, I saw you look. But they've asked that if there could be a sign put up for that purpose, because they know that they've asked several times about a stoplight, and that's never going to happen. So is that possible that a sign goes up for that?
To you, Acting Mayor, yes, signage can be accommodated. We can certainly implement something of that nature.
Thank you. And pretty readily, like...
Yeah, to manufacture the sign is actually the short part of it. It's getting the locates and getting the crews out there to install them. So there's a couple of weeks lag time in between when we actually place the order and when it actually goes up. But we can try and expedite that as quickly as possible.
Perfect, thank you. And just one other question again through you, Chris. If there is no speed limit posted, what is the assumed speed limit in town? 50?
That is correct.
Okay. That's a concern of the taxpayer as well. and I did get out and look, and there's a school there. There's one sign. First of all, there's no speed sign, but there was one school sign on Ferris, just before the school, actually right by the fire department. There's one school sign. And on Davis Street, which is the back side of DeWitt Carter, there's one sign. No speed limit. There's no speed limit. So in a school zone, isn't this that way less than that? Like there should be a sign posted, school zone. I wonder if that could be looked at as well.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, we can investigate that and check out the signage, make certain that it conforms with the regulations, and we can, by all means, take care of that.
Okay, and that was just for that area. And I believe, Chris, I'm sorry I gave everything to you, but thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. And now, Council, we're going to move on to consideration of items requiring separate discussion, and it's Councillor Elliott Knight. He's pulled 5, 6, and 15. So, Councillor Elliott, the floor is yours.
I apologize. I was
No problem, Councillor.
meeting, so I'm going to make up for it tonight. No.
Yeah, we'll quit.
Wow. I am feeling the love tonight, Councillor Bodnar. Thank you. Engineering and Operations, Engineering Division Report number 2016-103. Subject Project 2016-11. Request for proposal qualification of consulting services for Nickel Area Storm Sewer Project.
Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Bodnar. Questions? Comments? Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. Acting Deputy Acting Mayor. Whatever, Acting Mayor. Through you to Chris, because you're the only one here, so it's pick on you night. I want to refer to the report, page number 35 in our package. It's the evaluation sheet, the chart. I got a couple of concerns. First of all, as a public tender, we know what the bids are, and yet in this evaluation sheet and in the report, I don't see any tender pricing from all of the people that weren't successful. Can you tell me why that is?
Through you, Acting Mayor, to Councillor Elliott. This matrix that you see in front of you was a matrix that staff has developed. It's actually being used by a number of municipalities in the region of very similar format. What it does is it takes into consideration all of the other issues, technical expertise, methodology, as is illustrated within that process. And then the dollar value for the actual work submitted is nothing more than a factor that's built into the equation, so that you won't necessarily get the lowest price individual doing the work, but you're getting the individual that's been deemed to be the most qualified, with the best expertise in this particular area, with the best team that's available at this particular time. And that's all based on not only the submission that was reviewed by engineering staff, but also in an interview process. So the three lowest, the three highest scoring individuals in the first section of the matrix were asked in this particular case to come in and do an interview and explain their position. They were given an hour to explain their understanding of the project, how they've gone about their research on the project, what their expertise within this particular field of endeavor, and then those numbers were calculated, as you can see in the matrix, and then hence the numbers that we came up with in our recommendation.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Is that a change in policy that we don't take the lowest tendered bid? I was always under the assumption that when it's a public tender, if everybody meets the qualifications, because generally don't we pre-qualify all of our bidders?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Elliott, part of the pre-qualification is the first part of the matrix. So all of those numbers go to building that qualification process and establishing who is the best candidate for the particular position, inclusive of their price to do the work. In this particular case, if I may clarify, the individual that we're recommending, they are a very large engineering firm that has a great deal of expertise. They have all of the individuals on board, from archaeological experts that are part of their staff, geotechnical experts and engineers, design engineers, and EA experts. So they're all under one roof. And that being said, that was one of the reasons that they scored as high as they did. Some of the other firms have farmed it out. They don't have control over timetable. And that was also one of the considerations that we brought forward in our analysis, was that they could deliver this project to us and complete it in the strict timeframes that the provincial government has placed upon us as part of the grant application when we received the $2 million in funding.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor. So if I asked you for what a price was on one of the firms, would you tell me?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Elliott, yes, we have to go back to the file, because at this point in time, I don't know exactly which firm is A, B, C, or D. Only the specific numbers to this, in this particular case, the firm WSP. But if you wanted to look those up or have those revealed, by all means, they're available.
Okay, and I guess, and I hate to put you on the spot like this, Chris. I really do. It's just that this is jumping off the page at me, and I'm troubled by it. When you take a look at the candidates, firm A, B, C, D, and then you've got the firm that that you're suggesting and putting forward. When I look at the chart and I look at firm B, when I look at the pre-qualifications and the subtotal, they're far and away better than everybody else, scoring 964 points. Included in that is a 150-point score on their pricing. Where they seem to have fell down was on a subjective interview process. So I'm trying to figure out, how does somebody rank top in the pre-qualified section and then drop out on the interview process to fall short by 14 points? I'm thinking if these firms are big enough to be pre-qualified and lead the sections in the subtotal for the pre-qualified section, how on earth did they fall down in the interview section to not get this job? Especially when, if I'm reading it correctly, the 150 points they scored for pricing, cost factor, was the best.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Elliott. If in your observation of that is correct, what that's saying is that firm B actually had the lowest price, which is why they got full points for that.
Right.
My recollection on the spread in points between the top three scoring, there was a difference of approximately, I'm remembering, somewhere around $35,000 to $40,000 was the total spread between all those. And when you multiply those numbers out with the matrix, hence the numbers that they were scored. In the interview process, you're absolutely correct. In that 1 hour time frame where they were allowed to come in and tell us what their understanding of the project is, what they can bring to the table, the individuals that are involved in their team that they were proposing to do the work with, they didn't score as well as the other group that we are recommending. And the reasoning being is, as I said previously, is that they had a number of different consulting firms that they had hired out that they don't have direct control over with regards to mandating delivery on times. And in the case of the WSP submission, as I said previously, they have everybody under one roof, under one staff, so that we have some control over when people deliver things. So that was a big consideration. Also, and that being said, is that WSP did a very good job in their presentation and illustrated their understanding of the project and what they thought the vision for the project would be, with everything from involvement with the EAA to their involvement with the St. Lawrence Seaway and potential outlet features and structures. So they did very well in that interview process, and hence their score.
Still, I'm still troubled by it though, because it's a 14-point difference based on 100 points on an interview, when the subtotal that firm B had was almost 100 points ahead of the firm that got it. And when you look at what the sub-applications were, like technical expertise, team strength and leadership, similar work experience and local expertise, project understanding, methodology, letter of reference, project history, cost factor. And you take all those in, and that firm B scored almost 100 points more than the people that you're suggesting we award the contract to. And you said that they were like $40,000 less, which is about 10% savings. And we lose all that in an interview. I'm puzzled. If you tell somebody that they have a time frame to do the project in, do they not adhere to it?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Kenny, to Councillor Elliott. You're absolutely correct, as you can try to make that, expedite that process. Just as a bit of a clarification, though, is that the first section of this matrix is based on a review committee of engineering staff that looked at their written proposals, and that's how those were scored. And with that process, then the top 3 scoring individuals were asked to come in to clarify their position and make certain that the written submission contained everything that we needed, but also to give an understanding to staff that they could ask specific questions related to this project and then get a better understanding from the individual firms submitting to clarify their position and what they stated, give us more information and detail on the staff that was to be involved, the expertise of that staff. And then hence, that's why the interview process shows the numbers that it does. It created, or if I could use the word, enlightened staff as to more of the information that was available, more of the, not necessarily the credibility, but more of the ability of the staff that was being proposed to do the work for the municipality. And what staff has done at this particular time is just recommended the highest scoring based on those findings.
Okay. I'm still troubled. Yeah, I'm still.
When you factor in the dollars become less of an event, if you would, because you're trying to get the best team to deliver to you the best product at the most reasonable price and still meet the deadlines that are being set forward to us.
I know. And when I look at the overall scoring, I mean, you've got 2 sections here. One says letters of reference and the other says reference checks. And they score full points in both sections. So people they've done work for were obviously happy with their work.
That is correct.
And while they were the cheapest price, we weren't happy with their interview.
It's not that we weren't happy with their interview, but the top scoring team was more impressive in their interview, if you would, brought more to the table.
Could you send me all the prices via email?
Why, certainly, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Actually, Councillor Elliott asked most of the questions that I was going to ask, but I would also like you to send me the prices as well, please, Chris. Thank you.
Does any other councillor member want all the prices? You can send us, I guess you can just send us all an email, Chris. Thank you. Councillor Elliott.
Going forward, and speaking of this, and through you, Deputy Mayor, can we have the prices included from now on? I would really like to know, these are public tenders, so we should have the pricing on all of them so that we can see where everybody came in. This is the first time that I can remember that the pricing wasn't there for a tender. I'm pretty sure that everything else, even if there was a sole tender, we had the price on it. So I would really like to see the pricing from everybody included so we know where we stand.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Elliott, this has actually been a common practice for a number of years now with engineering. To give you an idea, just as a rough example, to give you a heads up on it, is that one of the companies in particular that scored a 0 on the pricing, their price was actually double what was submitted with the lowest bid. for the same work.
Anyone else on this subject? Okay, I need a mover and a seconder for this. Mover Councillor Elliott was the mover, and Councillor Bodnar the head. Councillor Bodnar as a seconder. All in favor? It's all in favor. Any opposed? One opposed. Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Your next item is item 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Planning and Development by Law Enforcement Division Report number 2016-100. Subject Municipal Law Enforcement Officer Appointment Ty Parasati.
Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Danch. Questions, Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you, I guess, to Dan or to the acting CAO, because I guess this is your department because nobody else is here. Is this the first time that we got a summer student that acted as a bylaw enforcement officer?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Elliott, yes, in my tenure as the director, this is the first time we have a summer student that is actively engaging in wanting to be a bylaw enforcement officer.
Okay, thanks, Dan, because that's really good to see that we got some extra help. This is budgeted for, I take it, that your department had planned on having somebody somewhere in the department to come this summer?
Through Deputy Mayor, that is correct. It is budgeted for.
Okay. It's really good to see that we're actually going to get a little help on the bylaw side throughout the year. The only thing I guess that really jumped off the page at me when I saw it was that under staff comments it says, student performed normal office duties, but would also be approved as an officer to be able to write parking tickets during canal days and at other times during the summer as necessary. It's great that he's got the authority to write the tickets during canal days. Don't be too aggressive. I just hate when I saw that in print that it's like, you'll be able to write parking tickets during canal days. And I thought, you know what, when we got everybody coming to town from out of town, let's not say, welcome to Port Colborne, here's your ticket. So it's nice that he gets some experience while he's going to school. So too bad he wasn't here tonight to say welcome, but we'll probably see him during his duties. Thanks. That's the only questions I had, was just whether we had it budgeted and if he was just the first one.
If I may, Deputy Mayor, what we do during canal days, we don't go around looking for parking tickets. We go out and just enforce ones that are a safety and health concern. Parking too close to the intersection, things like that. So staff know not to be aggressive, let's put it that way.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Niagara Central Airport Commission re-application for debentures. Request for approval of a motion for the purpose of financing a new septic system and approval of a motion for the purpose of repairing the roof of the main terminal hangar.
Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Butters. Councillor Elliott, questions?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Peter, just so that I make sure I read it right, this will not count towards the our borrowing cap or add on to anything for us. It's strictly on the Airport Commission itself.
To you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Elliott, that is correct.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Just through you, Deputy Mayor. Just a couple of quick questions. And I don't mean this in any mean-spirited way, but if anything happens to those loans through the Niagara Airport Commission, that they have the inability to pay due to whatever circumstances, do we basically act as a cosigner and we'd be responsible for them?
To you, Deputy Mayor. It is a separate commission, separate board, so if something goes wrong, it's on their bill. We are shareholders, along with the 3 other municipalities. We share in the costs of, we'll be sharing in the costs of the debenture and so on, along with the capital and operating as normal. But ultimately, they do still operate as a separate entity.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Peter. And final question, along that same vein, there's a survey going around and there's discussion with the region. If the region was to take over operations of the commission and the airport, would they be responsible for the debt?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, yes.
Tell them to borrow more. No, I shouldn't say that. It's great. It's great to see that they found a way to raise the money, and I know that a couple of ladies sitting around this council are part of this. So it's great that they have found a way to get the money to do the repairs that are necessary. I don't know if you feel that the region should take it over. But it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see the results of the survey to see how people feel about it. So if you've got comments on that end of it, or anything with regards to the report, I'm glad to see that they got the septic issue resolved. So that's a big one for me.
The only thing I would like to add, thank you, Acting Mayor, is that doing this debenture also helps us tap into like the $99,000 grant from the higher levels of government. So, and we're still after the region to kick in a share as well, because, you know, they certainly financed a similar situation for Niagara Central, or district, I mean, in the north. So at the tune of about $5 million. So I think it isn't untoward to expect the region to kick up $100 grand for Niagara Central Dorothy Rungling Airport, but that's just my opinion.
I'm glad you enjoyed those comments. Thank you. Okay, so moved and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? That would be carried unanimously. Thank you. I believe that's all the items that were pulled for separate discussion. Are there any notices of motion? No notices of motion. Then a call for adjournment. Councillor Danch, seconder, Councillor Main. All in favor? That would be carried. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to the council portion of our meeting tonight. And introduction of addendum items.
Thank you. None this evening.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I need a confirmation of the agenda. Councillor Bodner, seconder, Councillor Danch. All in favor? Any opposed? That would be carried. Any disclosures of interest? No disclosures of interest. I need adoption of the minutes of the regular council held on May 24th. Moved by Councillor Main, seconded by Councillor Desmarais. All in favor? Any opposed? That would be carried. Any items to be lifted for separate discussion? No items. Mover, Councillor Dan, seconded Councillor Elliott. All in favor? Approval of items not required in separate discussion, Councillor Main, Councillor Butters. All in favor? Anything else? I think that's it. No consideration of items because we didn't pull any. There are no proclamations. Minutes of boards, commissions, and committees. I'm going to do them in bulk. Minutes of the Port Colborne Economic Development Advisory Committee held on April 18th. And minutes of the Port Colborne Transit Advisory Committee held March the 23rd. Mover, Councillor Butters. Seconded, Councillor Bodner. All in favor? That would be carried. Consideration of bylaws. Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. That the following bylaws be enacted and passed. Bylaw 63694916, being a bylaw to temporarily close a section of West Street, Clarence Street, and Charlotte Street to vehicular traffic, June 18, 2016, for the art crawl. Bylaw 63705016, being a bylaw to temporarily close a section of West Street to vehicular traffic on July 1st for the purposes of the Canada Day fireworks event. Bylaw 6371516, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 63583816, being a bylaw to set and levy the rates of taxation for the city purposes for the year 2016. Bylaw 637252216, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a contract agreement with WSP Canada Inc. regarding tender 2016-11, request for proposal, qualification of consulting services for Nickel Beach Storm Sewer Project.